The rain begins not with thunder, not with drama, but with a hush. A smear across the windshield, a sigh against the glass. You barely notice at first. The rhythm of it is slow, steady, almost apologetic, as if the sky is trying to hide what it knows is coming. You're still on the road, still far enough away for hope to feel reasonable, even if it doesn't feel real. The lights from the dashboard paint your hands in sickly green. Everything else is washed in gray and sodium orange. The hum of tires on wet asphalt is the only constant, like static, like memory. Your jacket smells like gasoline and fabric softener. There's a fast food wrapper in the footwell, and the last few notes of a radio ad fading beneath the whisper of rain. You haven't spoken in a while, though you don't remember if anyone was listening when you did. The map on the passenger seat is folded wrong. There's a crease where there shouldn't be one, right across Raccoon City, as if the paper tried to warn you. Outside, the highway stretches in thin veins of light, blinking with oil-slick puddles and passing signs that flicker like tired thoughts. There are no other cars. Or maybe there are, but they're ghosts behind the fog, trailing headlights that fade before they arrive. You lean forward slightly, not to see better, but to feel closer to the glass. The road feels like a dream remembered poorly. Every mile forward is a memory in reverse. You're not arriving, you're returning, even if you've never been. You pass a gas station. The lights are on, but they hum like they haven't been spoken to in days. The sign is cracked. One letter stutters. There's a truck parked at an angle that suggests haste or accident. But the pump beside it is still blinking, waiting for someone to press cancel. You don't stop. Not yet. Not here. The urge to keep moving hums louder than any caution. Or maybe it's not urgency. Maybe it's momentum. Like the kind that carries a leaf into a drain. There's a scent in the car you don't recognize. Not strong, just subtle. Like metal rubbed into plastic. Like something old that's trying not to be remembered. You adjust the air and pretend you don't notice. Pretend the shadows outside the passenger window don't move slightly faster than the car. Pretend the sky isn't darker than the dashboard suggests. A sign announces the city. White letters on a green board. It feels like the name is whispered rather than read. Raccoon City. Population numbers are smudged, overwritten. The welcome at the top has peeled into something resembling wallow. You blink. Maybe it never said that. Maybe it never mattered. The city looms beyond a bend, where the hills dip into something more industrial. The clouds hang lower here. The rain thickens, not hard, just denser. Each droplet slower, like the sky has decided to speak in drawn-out syllables. The moment you realize you're almost there is the moment your stomach shifts. Not from fear, exactly, but from the awareness that something in the air has changed. It's colder, though you haven't touched the dials. It smells like copper, like moss, like paper left in a basement too long. A low mist threads itself along the roadside, clinging to fences, puddling around the trees like fog that forgot to rise. You see the city lights long before you see the buildings, but they don't glow. They blink, hesitant, like the city isn't sure if it's open. Or maybe it knows what waits inside and it's stalling. Either way, the lights don't welcome you. They flicker like a warning left in Morse. You slow the car, not from choice. The road narrows without warning. One lane cordoned off by orange cones and a sagging sign that reads, "Maintenance." But there are no workers, just equipment left in the rain, tools splayed like bones. A generator sits silent beside a hole in the ground, not a pothole, but a wound. You drive around it, and the tires hiss as if whispering things you're not meant to hear. The city gate, if it could be called that, is just a tunnel under an overpass. But something about passing beneath it feels ceremonial, like crossing a line not meant to be crossed backward. The rain seems louder inside the tunnel, bouncing off concrete, echoing in your ears like heartbeat. Your headlights stretch forward into nothing, then reveal brick, then nothing again. There are posters on the walls, warnings about infection, safety notices, flu season tips. One has been ripped in half, the word quarantine just barely visible in faded red. And then, as if the city remembers it has visitors, The street opens. The car hums beneath you. Your breath clouds the windshield slightly. You don't wipe it away. You turn the corner too slowly, the way you do when you already suspect what's there. And there it is. A cruiser, lights off, driver's door ajar, a trail of something dark smeared across the road like a child's drawing gone wrong. A bag of groceries overturned, cans rolling in the gutter, milk seeping into the cracks of the curb like it's trying to hide. There are no people, just shapes that imply them. A shoe in the middle of the road, a glove on the sidewalk, a purse open and empty, the receipts inside soaked to transparency. You park, not because you have to, but because continuing forward now feels unwise, as if driving any farther would break something delicate. Not the car, not the road, but the illusion that this is just bad weather. The engine ticks softly as it cools. You sit there for a moment, eyes unfocused, the dashboard glow catching the curve of your cheek. Something flutters by the windshield. A piece of paper, a plastic bag. You're not sure which. You're not sure it matters. The air feels heavier inside the car now. The kind of weight that doesn't crush, but insists. You know that once you open the door, everything will change. Not immediately, but inevitably. The rain grows braver, louder. It taps with more confidence. The lights in the distance flicker again. One goes out, doesn't come back. You press your fingers to the glass and feel the cold. It welcomes you, in a way. You open the door. The sound is sharp. It cuts through the night like breath through still water. You step out. Your boots meet the wet concrete with a sigh. The rain finds your shoulders instantly, not pounding, but insistent. The street lamp above buzzes, not constantly, just in little stutters. The kind of sound that might be mistaken for whispering if you were the type to hear whispers in static. You walk forward, slowly, because running would be a betrayal, not of fear, but of the quiet. And the quiet is the only thing that still feels real. There's a sign up ahead. You can't read it yet, but you know it doesn't matter. You're already here. The smell hits you before anything else. Not rot, not blood. Just that strange cocktail of wet pavement, rusted metal, and the faint sweetness of something spoiled. A can of peaches left open in the rain. A vending machine that's been broken into and rained on. A scent with teeth, but no bite. Something drips nearby. Not the rain, but something slower. A pipe. A leak. A breath. You don't look yet. You find yourself outside the gas station you passed earlier. But this time, you're not passing. You're here. The door is open just enough to invite, not enough to welcome. The light inside is cold and flickering, like a memory trying too hard to stay alive. And just beneath it, a sound. Not loud, not sharp. Just breathing. Not yours. Not yet. You take one more step, and the rain does something strange. It pauses. Only for a moment, just long enough to make you notice. And in that pause, you feel it. The world holding its breath. The street. The sky. Even the shadow leaning just slightly away from the flickering light. And then, as if the sky has exhaled, the rain resumes. Softer this time. Gentler. But the quiet has already been broken. You reach for the door. Not quickly. Not slowly. Just with the weight of someone who knows there's no other direction to go. The handle is damp, slick, cold. You grip it anyway. And as the door swings inward, the light flickers once more. Something moves. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it was just your reflection. Maybe it was just the rain. Or maybe this is how the story always starts. No, not with a scream, not with a monster, not with a bang, but with a breath. And then another. And then darkness. Waiting. The rain continues, but softer. Like a lullaby hummed from behind glass. Like a memory that hasn't yet gone bad. The rain hasn't stopped. It only thins for a moment, as if to breathe, then returns with the weight of something unresolved. You left the car behind, engine still warm, door left ajar, not out of carelessness, but because it no longer mattered. Some things are meant to be left open when the world itself feels like a question, no longer waiting for an answer. The road ahead is not empty. Not exactly. It's full of reminders. Rubber streaks on wet pavement. A handbag turned inside out near the curb. A single shoe facing the wrong direction, as if its owner had been running, and then simply wasn't. There is sound, but it's not movement. Just static. The hum of broken televisions in shop windows that still flicker with footage of another hour, another day. Emergency warnings scroll across the bottom of frozen broadcasts. Faces in mid-sentence. A weatherman pointing at clouds long since forgotten by the sky. You walk, because walking feels like the only thing left that connects you to something human. The sidewalks are glossy with water and oil, shimmering like bruised glass. Neon lights try to hold onto their purpose, buzzing softly, like insects caught behind stained plastic. A pharmacy sign flickers between red and green, caught between urgency and decay. You pass it without stopping. There's a restaurant here. Or it was one. The front windows are cracked, not shattered. Inside, chairs sit askew, as if the customers had risen all at once, but not in panic. In hesitation. On one table, 2 mugs of coffee. Steam long gone. A newspaper soaked through. You lean in, your reflection warping against the pane, and you read just enough to see the word quarantine before a drop of water blurs the rest. Farther down, a fire burns in a metal barrel. A strange comfort. Its light is golden, not orange, and it dances like it knows how to be alone. There's no one near it, but it's warm, and the warmth touches your face as you pass, like a hand not meant to linger. Nearby, a manhole cover is ajar, and the steam that rises from beneath it smells like metal and forgetting. You do not look down. Something clatters in the alley beside you. Not loud, not sudden, just inevitable. A metal can, a bottle. The sound of something that once held meaning. The alley holds no shape, only shadow. And inside that shadow, you feel the weight of presence. Not looking at you, not waiting, simply existing. Like a dog asleep with one eye open, you move on. The air feels colder now. Past the gas station, signs of departure become clearer. A car with its lights still on, doors closed but smeared with something dull. A suitcase open on the asphalt, filled with clothes still folded. The yellow blouse on top has a pin still in it. You wonder, not for the first time, what moment separates a plan from a memory. You wonder if she ever got to wear it. You reach a crossing. The traffic lights still work. Red, then green, then red again. No cars, no urgency, just the rhythm of a system that refuses to stop, like a heartbeat after the body is gone. You stand there, beneath the signal, and for a moment, you feel like the world is waiting for you to make a decision. But you already have. That's why your feet move forward. Posters on the walls peel back in the rain. Some advertise concerts. Others offer flu shots. Most have faces, missing people, their expressions caught between hope and confusion. You don't look too closely. There's no use. The faces look like everyone. Or maybe you're just tired enough to feel like they all could have been yours. You hear glass break, farther ahead, not near, just near enough. You pause, not out of fear, but out of acknowledgement. That something else moves, lives, breathes, even now. A figure crosses the far intersection, stumbling, dragging something behind them. You do not call out. You do not approach. Not because of what they are, but because of what they remind you of. There are some things you cannot save by reaching. You pass a storefront with a mannequin in the window. Its face is smooth, blank. One arm has fallen off, lying at its feet like a forgotten apology. The clothes it wears are summer bright, cheerful, out of place. But maybe not. Maybe even places like this deserve something bright, something foolish. Maybe that's why you still carry the flashlight, the small one, not because it helps you see much, but because holding it gives you the illusion of focus. There is a mural on the wall near the school, or what used to be one, painted in better days, children with kites, a sun that smiles. The paint is chipped, streaked with mud, and something else darker, but you can still see the yellow, still see the way the children were drawn to float. You stop here, just briefly. just long enough to wonder if memories ever get tired of being remembered. Farther still, the road narrows. Buildings lean closer, like old people whispering secrets they've already forgotten. Wires hang loose, trailing from broken poles like veins that don't know they've been cut. You hear a door slam in the distance, not behind you, not ahead, just somewhere. Echoes behave like animals here. They roam, they curl around corners, they lie in wait beneath puddles. You reach a small square, half flooded, half lit. A payphone blinks, off the hook, line still open. You approach it. The receiver hangs like a limb that doesn't know it's broken. You lift it. Static a voice maybe, but not one meant for now. Just syllables trapped in endless repetition, words bruised by time. You set it down again. It doesn't matter if someone was calling, not anymore. Near the fountain, a bench holds an umbrella, folded and forgotten. You sit for a while, because walking is not always the answer. The rain softens here. It taps against the fabric canopy overhead, with the rhythm of fingers against old piano keys. You let the water hit your boots. Let it soak the edge of your coat. The cold is not cruel. It is just present. A soft movement nearby, a dog perhaps, or the echo of one. You hear the gentle click of claws against wet concrete, but see nothing. You do not flinch. Not everything here is meant to hurt you. Some things are just shadows that remember how to walk. You rise. The street winds now, downhill, the way water moves when no one watches. You follow it, because there is still something ahead, a station, a promise, a place where keys still matter and doors still open. You pass under a collapsed sign that once pointed the way, its letters scattered like teeth across the sidewalk. But you know the direction now. Your body remembers even if the city does not. One more alley, one more moment. The brick walls sweat. Trash bins lean like drunks asleep on duty, and in the distance, not far now, the shape of a building grows, tall, square, too serious to belong to a city like this. But it's there, waiting, not inviting, just waiting. You hear footsteps again, not yours, but not following either, just echoing, because this city does not forget where people once stood, where they ran, where they fell, and in this silence, even the memories leave footprints. You reach the gate, heavy, iron, closed but not locked. Your hands grip the bars. Wet metal, cold as memory. You press through, and the moment feels like exhale. You are not safe, not yet. Maybe never, but you are inside, and behind you, the street swallows your footprints like rain over ink. There is no sound now, except your breath. And even that is quiet, like something remembering how to begin again. The last of the rain follows you through the gate, clinging to your shoulders like a memory that hasn't decided if it wants to stay. Your boots are heavy now, soaked through, each step quieter than it should be, muffled not by care, but by the world's hush, the same hush that sits thick in the air, as if the city itself is holding its breath and doesn't remember how to let go. You cross the courtyard slowly, past a rusted bike left leaning at an awkward angle, half swallowed by creeping ivy and stillness. Its tires have gone soft, its bell cracked. The benches here are empty, save for what the wind has carried, a single page from a newspaper, curled at the corners, unreadable, but determined to be noticed. You don't read it. You only glance, like you would at a face you once knew well but don't wish to name. The building stands ahead of you, broad and solemn, not imposing, but enduring, like something meant to outlast storms, not fend them off. The doors aren't locked. They part with a groan that feels too loud for the silence they interrupt. And then, just like that, you are inside. It is not dark, but it is not lit either. The kind of light here is neither warm nor bright. It comes from somewhere above, fractured through dirty skylights and hanging bulbs that hum not with life, but with exhaustion. You stand still in the entrance hall. Not because you're uncertain, but because the space asks it of you. It is the kind of place where footsteps matter, where echoes carry like confessions. The walls are tall. They press inward with a dignity that has grown tired. Flags hang in stiff folds, motionless in air that smells of old polish and older paper. A statue rises in the center of the room, angelic perhaps, though the dust dulls its wings. At its feet, water ripples in a circular basin, not clean water, but not yet spoiled. The kind of water that remembers a time it reflected candlelight instead of ceiling tiles. You breathe in. The place does not answer you, but it listens, to your shoes squeaking faintly on the tiled floor, to the shift of your coat, to the gentle rhythm of your breath adjusting to the quiet. The front desk sits slightly askew, as though someone once rose in a hurry, knocking the chair aside and leaving the drawer open in protest. A typewriter waits there, keys yellowed, ribbon faded. There's no note in it, but somehow it still feels like it has something to say. A small lamp rests beside it, flicked off, dust gathered like a slow blanket. You don't touch it. It feels like touching it would wake something. The hallway to your left stretches into shadows. The one to your right hums with the faint murmur of distant electricity, like a lullaby played through a broken speaker. You don't choose yet. You stay here, just a moment longer, letting the hush of the place nestle into the folds of your clothing, your thoughts, your bones. This isn't shelter, it's pause. The world hasn't stopped. It's simply waiting to see what you'll do next. You move forward. The air here is cooler than outside, not cold, just reluctant. The linoleum floor beneath your feet is cracked in places and scuffed with the ghosts of 1,000 purposeful steps. Police shoes, civilian panic, boots too heavy, heels too fast. They've all been here, all passed through this space. And something about that knowledge sits in your throat like a name you don't say out loud. To your left, the filing room is half closed. Through the slats of its dusty blinds, you can make out stacks of folders, each marked with dates that don't feel old enough to be forgotten and not recent enough to matter anymore. There's a coffee mug on the corner of a desk, tipped on its side, the dried ring of its contents still etched into the wood like a timestamp. It smells faintly of cream gone sour and sugar that tried to do its best. You don't go in. Instead, you drift toward the reception desk. A clipboard lies open, its pen hanging from a cracked lanyard. Names are scratched in with looping letters, each signature braver than the one before. But the last entry is smudged, like a hand gripped it too tightly before letting go. You trace it lightly with your eyes, then let your gaze fall to the floor, where dried footprints begin and vanish in the same breath. There is movement above. Not heavy, not direct. The kind of sound that buildings make when they remember they are alone. The floorboards groaning, or perhaps a door that's learned to breathe. You tilt your head toward it, not in alarm, but in respect. You are not the only one wandering here. This place breathes with more than just dust. You pass the boardroom, where the lights still flicker behind opaque glass. Inside, chairs are pushed back, papers scatter the floor, and a projector screen hangs limp, frozen mid-presentation. On it, the outline of a police precinct's schedule. Shift rotations, precautions. Hope, typed out in Helvetica. But no one watched this to the end. There's a hallway where the light grows thin, where the floor tilts just enough to notice. You go there, because the quiet calls to you, and not everything quiet is empty. Along the corridor, the walls are peppered with bulletin boards, each one overloaded with pinned memos, lost pet notices, event flyers. A missing cat named Whiskers, a bake sale postponed indefinitely, a CPR certification workshop that no one ever got the chance to attend. You pause, fingertips brushing the edge of a photo. 3 officers in uniform grinning at the edge of a community fair. One of them has a mustard stain on his sleeve. You smile, just barely, then step away. You find the locker room. Its scent is thick. Metal, sweat, something damp. Not rot, not yet. The lockers are mostly closed, but one stands ajar. Inside, a jacket hangs, neatly, as if its owner had planned to return after lunch. A watch rests on the shelf above it, still ticking. You listen to it for a moment longer than you should. Farther in, a bench sits beneath a row of hooks. One hook still holds a helmet. Another holds nothing but cobwebs. The mirror above the sink is cracked in a branching pattern, not broken enough to discard, but enough to change every reflection into a question. You catch your own eyes in it, and they do not blink. Back into the main hall, you move toward the central staircase. Its banister is smooth, worn by the palms of the tired and the determined. You run your fingers along it, feeling the oil of 100 long shifts and longer nights. The first step creaks. The second sighs. The rest accept your weight with reverence. Upstairs, light leaks from a half-open door, not beckoning, but not resisting either. You pause at its frame. Inside is a small office, a desk, a chair turned just slightly to the side. On the wall, a corkboard filled with photographs and lines of yarn connecting names and faces like a web strung by urgency. In the center, one picture is marked with a red circle. You don't recognize the face, but the eyes look like someone who once believed they could fix something. You don't linger. The hallway bends again, guiding you past interrogation rooms, evidence storage, stairwells that descend into places not yet ready to be entered. The air here smells more like stone, less like paper. You hear the low hum of a vending machine somewhere. Its light flickers behind cracked plastic. Inside, a bag of chips clings to its coil, as if unwilling to fall without reason. You stop again at a window. Rain has returned, or perhaps it never left. It blurs the city beyond into watercolor. No edges, no fire, no movement. Just color without shape. The thunder doesn't follow. Only the sound of your own heart, faint and steady, as if finally accepting that it is alone. You turn back. Head toward the west wing. Past doors that once required clearance, now hanging open like old wounds. Past lockers filled with old reports, folders too full to close, photographs of suspects that will never be questioned. A chair is overturned here. A flashlight lies on its side, still working, still casting a beam that shakes ever so slightly like breath caught in the cold. You sit, just for a moment, on the floor, against the wall, your knees drawn close. The station isn't silent, not really. It has a sound, like sleeping breath, shallow and uneven, like the sound of someone trying not to cry in the next room. You close your eyes, not to rest, just to feel what it's like. And the building breathes with you, slow, wounded, unfinished. The station breathes behind you as you move forward, slow as thought, slower than memory. You pass through its sighs and murmurs, through doorways that once held purpose, past plaques now dulled by the indifference of dust and time. The walls remember everything. You only remember some of it, just enough to feel the weight pressing between your shoulders, like a hand you can't see but can't forget. There is a corridor that bends quietly westward, narrow and unassuming, yet touched with the faintest familiarity. Not because it is safe, nothing is, but because it is yours, in a way that feels as unspoken as it is inevitable. Something in your ribs tugs toward it, the way dreams sometimes pull you sideways, away from logic and into something stranger. You follow. The hallway smells of rust and paper, not fresh rust, the old kind, the kind that's dry and flaky, more memory than metal. Paper that's been yellowing for years, forgotten forms, notes too short to save. At the end of the corridor, a door yawns open just wide enough for you to slip through without brushing its edge. The hinges mutter, but only once, as if embarrassed. You enter the room like a ghost returning to a place it once called home. There are desks, 8 of them, arranged in soft rows like pews in a chapel built for tired men and women who once believed in procedure. Most are cluttered, stacks of folders, crumpled notes, photographs curling at the corners. A half-eaten granola bar, ancient and fossilized. A nameplate turned face down beside a shattered coffee mug. This isn't where the story begins, but it's where something waited. You step around a broken chair, its legs splintered like a snapped bone, and move toward the desk that seems least touched. Its surface is clearer than the rest, but not clean. The dust here is different, more settled, like it's been waiting for you to brush it aside. The drawer doesn't resist when you pull it open. Inside, a small notebook, spiral-bound and dog-eared, a pen that still has ink, a photo tucked beneath them both. You slide it free, hold it up to the light. The photo is old. A group of officers, shoulder to shoulder, some smiling, some mid-laugh, one with their eyes closed, frozen mid-blink like a forgotten truth. You don't recognize them, but you feel something anyway. Not sorrow, not quite. More like missing. Like standing in a room that still holds the scent of someone who used to laugh loudly in it. And now it's quiet. The chair at this desk is turned slightly askew, as if someone left in a hurry. Or maybe they meant to return. Maybe they always meant to return. You sit anyway. It groans under your weight, but holds. There's a paperweight shaped like a dog's paw pressed into the far corner. Someone thought that was funny once. You reach out and nudge it gently. It wobbles, then settles. Above the desk, a bulletin board curls at the corners. Sticky notes have lost their stick. One hangs by a single pin. A grocery list, perhaps, or a reminder for a birthday that was never celebrated. The ink has bled, but the shapes of the words still remain, like ghosts refusing to blur all the way out. A drawer to your right is locked, or jammed, or simply doesn't want to open. You don't force it. The world here is too soft for force. You rest your hand on the surface instead, palm flat, fingers spread slightly. You don't know what you expect to feel, but the wood is warm, and the warmth surprises you. The silence in this room is different from the others. Not total, but deeper, more personal. A silence that comes after something has been said, after something has been heard. It hums faintly through the walls, like the echo of voices that once spoke too loud and then learned to whisper instead. A calendar on the wall still clings to a date that never came, a day circled in red, the pen lines jagged, urgent. Something was meant to happen here, something important. But now it's just a number, a square, a memory held by paper. In the far corner, a locker leans slightly to one side, door ajar. Inside, a jacket, neatly folded, a badge number stitched into its inner lining. No name, just digits. You reach out and brush the fabric, thick, practical, worn at the seams. The kind of jacket you'd keep on the back of your chair, intending to grab it just before heading out into the cold again. It smells like dust and like time. You turn back to the desk. There's a framed certificate resting beside the monitor. The glass is cracked, but the name still shines through. Bold lettering, formal tone, signed by someone whose signature is all flair and no clarity. An award, perhaps, or a recognition. You don't read it aloud, you just nod, as if it matters, because it does. The computer is off, but the monitor holds a faint glow, a memory of electricity, not strong enough to be light, but still lingering, like the smell of rain after it's passed. You don't try to turn it on, you just watch it. Watch the screen hold on to nothing at all, and somehow make that feel like something. The hallway behind you has gone quieter, which is strange, because it was already still. But this quiet feels heavier, as if the building itself has noticed your presence here and is adjusting around it, reshaping its silence to accommodate you. You stand again, slowly, letting the chair creak back into place. Your fingertips leave faint trails in the dust. You trace the edge of the desk once more, slower this time. It feels like touching a scar, not painful, but present. You cross to the window. The blinds are half drawn. Through them, you can see the rain beginning again, misting against the glass in soft streaks. The courtyard below is empty. The city beyond is a blur. You press your forehead to the glass. It's cool, comforting, like being told a story you already know the ending to. Somewhere nearby, a door thuds softly. Not a slam, not a knock, just a closing, like someone remembering to leave. You don't move, not yet. The sound fades too quickly to follow, and the silence returns, reshaped once again. You turn back to the room, to the desk, to the chair that waited. You think of the person who once sat here, not what they did, not who they were, just that they were here, that they chose this desk, these drawers, this corner, this view, that they had a rhythm, a morning habit, a drawer they opened first, always, a coffee preference, a way they turned the chair slightly sideways every time. The desk doesn't speak, but it remembers. It remembers the weight of elbows during long nights. It remembers the scratch of pen against form, It remembers the drawer being slammed once, too hard. It remembers someone resting their head here, just for a second. You walk past it, one last time. Not away. Not really. You leave like someone closing a door behind them gently, knowing they might return. Or not. But either way, knowing it will still be here. Outside the room, the hallway stretches back into muted light and shadows. You hear the whisper of footsteps far away, too distant to follow, too close to ignore. You do not rush. You do not slow. You let the building carry you forward, one breath at a time. And behind you, in a quiet office tucked in the west corner of a wounded station, a desk waits again. The chair creaked softly as you rose, as if the wood itself had tried to hold on to you a moment longer. You didn't blame it. After everything, even the inanimate longed not to be alone. You step back into the corridor, that familiar artery of flickering bulbs, torn signage, and stains that are not just rust. The echo of your last breath lingers for a beat too long, then fades like fog drawn into a vent. The hallway does not welcome you. It never did. But it does not stop you either. That is enough. You move forward, boots pressing into a floor that remembers every panic step, every blood-slick sprint, every impact of something heavier than it had the strength to bear. The tiles have cracked in places. Not violently, not in protest, but as if collapsing under the weight of their own history. Cracks spider outward like forgotten family trees. The lighting here is different. Not darker exactly, just thinner, more threadbare. As if the glow had been stretched too far over too much time, and now only small seams of it remain. A buzzing fluorescent tube above you flickers in apology. Another ahead has long since died, its glass still intact, like the shell of something that used to shine. Your footfall makes a soft sound, not loud, but alone. And that's when you hear the other steps, not yours. There's a rhythm in the distance, slow, hesitant, but real. It comes and goes like breath, like doubt, like someone unsure if they're dreaming. A step, a pause, another. They echo not ahead of you, but beside, maybe behind, maybe above. Your eyes drift to the ceiling tiles, as if they could part like curtains and show you the source. But they do not part. They sag slightly, like they too have given up on answers. You pass a bulletin board. Once colorful, now a patchwork of faded flyers, dog-eared edges, curled tape, and thumbtacks rusted into their final duty. One of the papers flutters slightly, as if stirred by your passing, though the air remains still. You do not read it. Not all stories want to be remembered. The hallway forks. You do not remember this junction. Perhaps you've passed it before. Perhaps it simply appeared, grown from the cracks in the concrete like a bad dream finally taking root. One path leads to deeper dark, the other to brighter ruin. You choose without choosing. Your body leads. Your mind follows later. And all the while, those footsteps, not chasing, not even drawing near. Just there, a metronome for a different song. A broken mirror lies discarded on a shelf beside a maintenance door. You glance at it, not to see yourself, but to see what might stand behind you. The reflection shows nothing new, just you, or rather, something that resembles you, softer at the edges, wearier in the eyes. You look away before it becomes a conversation. The air thickens, not from smoke, not from heat, from memory. These halls carry it like perfume from someone no longer present. The scent of coffee burned into counters, of cheap deodorant in shared lockers, of gun oil in quiet corners, of panic left hanging in doorways like coats never retrieved. There's a room ahead, the kind that used to be a break room maybe, a place where people sat and said things that didn't matter, where they ate without tasting, where silence was companionable and overhead lights buzzed not in menace, but in disinterest. You step inside. The chairs are overturned but not scattered, just moved. With purpose. A table has been pushed against the door. A cup still rests near the edge. Inside it, the last of the coffee. Now cold, now growing things, but still there. Still waiting for a sip that never came. There's a photo on the floor, face down. You pick it up. Not to keep, just to see. The faces are mostly blurred, as if time had decided not to preserve them in full, but one smile remains, faint, tired. You don't know the name, but you know the feeling. The footsteps are closer now, still not rushing, still not arriving, but closer, like a thought trying to be remembered. You move again, back into the hall, past a vending machine cracked down its center like a rib cage. The snacks inside are still intact. They do not know the world has changed. Ahead, a stairwell. The rail is cold, and your hand hesitates before taking it. Somewhere below, or above, something breathes. Not loudly, not hungrily, but steadily, like sleep with lungs. You begin to descend. The walls narrow again, not physically, but the weight of the air becomes denser, the light less forgiving. There are scuffs on the wall here, the kind that shoes make in a hurry, and drag marks, long, faint, old. You do not follow them, but they follow you, in your thoughts. Another corridor, this one shorter. The windows here are boarded, but not all the way. One slat is loose. Through it, a sliver of outside light, dull and colorless, and filters in. Dust dances in it. That's all. Just dust. But you stop to watch it, just for a moment, and still. Those footsteps, no closer, but no farther, as if the space between you is fixed in place. You begin to wonder, are they walking too? Or are they just echoing? Something that once happened, still bouncing down the halls like a sound too stubborn to die. A rhythm the building won't forget. And if that's true, whose footsteps are yours? You don't stop walking because you have to, because you're supposed to, because that's what you do in dreams like this. You keep moving, even if the walls remember more than you do. At the end of the hall, a door, half open. A sliver of something warm glows through it. Not fire, not safety, just not the same cold. You step through, slowly, and the footsteps pause. Not gone, just paused, like they're listening. The room is small, tidy lit by a desk lamp still burning. Its bulb hums quietly, a sound that feels strangely kind. The desk is covered in notes. None are yours. But you know this space was meant for someone. Maybe still is. Maybe the footsteps are just trying to remember who. You sit, and the chair creaks, just slightly, like something saying welcome or goodbye. Outside the door, silence waits, but not alone. And somewhere, far behind you, the footsteps begin again. Soft, slow, familiar, and fading. The sound of your own footsteps fades behind you, but not quickly. Echoes cling to the tiled floor like memories reluctant to let go. There's a smear on the wall, dark, drying. You don't look too long at it, and it doesn't look back. Not exactly. There are places here where time folds inward, like corners in a forgotten sheet. Places where the air remembers how it used to feel before everything soured. But this isn't one of those places. Not anymore. The hallway ahead is dim, though you can't recall the moment the lights dimmed. Fluorescents hum above like something asleep and breathing, slow and cold. You pass under one, and it flickers in a rhythm that almost sounds like speech. The kind of speech that isn't meant to be heard, only felt, like the pressure of something large moving underwater, far off but circling. You carry on, not because you're brave, but because standing still feels worse. You've done it before. That moment of pause, that moment when your breath tries to escape without you. And then it happens again. A sound, not loud, not sudden, just there. The scrape of something on linoleum, something dragging, soft and intermittent, not close, not far, not interested in time. You breathe in, and the air smells like metal and mildew and air conditioning that's been dead for days but never quite gave up. You keep walking, and the sound fades, not because it moved away, because you stopped noticing, and that, somehow, is worse. There's a window to your right, cracked, a spiderweb of broken glass clinging to its own center. Through it, night leans against the world. You think of outside, but only barely. The thought tastes like rain and smoke, and something that used to be called safety. You don't stay at the window. There's nothing looking back, and that kind of silence feels rude. You reach the end of the hall and find a door you don't remember opening. But it's open now. The wood is splintered where something once struck it, again and again, until it yielded. You press forward into the room beyond, and the door closes behind you with a sound like a quiet finality. The carpet here is damp in one corner. Your shoes make a squelch that doesn't belong in this place, or in any other. There's a desk, the kind meant to hold someone's life. A stack of papers still rests on the surface, warped by time and the lazy crawl of humidity. A coffee mug sits beside them, half full, half spoiled. The smell is faint but familiar. You wonder who sat here, what they worried about, what they carried home in their pockets, only to forget and leave on a counter until it, too, began to rot. There's a photo under a cracked frame. Its glass spidered like the window. A face, maybe two, smiling, possibly human, possibly important. You don't touch it. There's a reverence in leaving things as they are, even if no one will ever know you did. You turn, slowly, because the room hasn't finished speaking. There's a noise again, not behind, not ahead, but within. The soft rustle of fabric, the suction of a wet shoe pulling free from something worse, a breath where there should be none. And then the moment stretches, pulling tight like thread that's about to snap. But it doesn't. Instead, you glimpse it, just for a second. A silhouette, not quite formed. Slumped, leaning, swaying. It doesn't reach for you. Not yet. It doesn't groan or hiss or beg. It simply stands, or fails to. You can't tell if it sees you. You can't tell if it used to be someone you might have known. A janitor, a receptionist, a man who never got to drink his coffee because the world changed before the first sip. It shuffles away, into another room, into shadow, into a memory that isn't yours, but might as well be. You remain still for a while. Not hiding, not frozen, just witnessing. Because sometimes the only thing left to give the dead is attention. Eventually the silence settles again, like dust on a forgotten shelf. You move through the room. You touch nothing. You borrow the air and promise to return it. There's a hallway on the other side. You enter it without thinking, or maybe thinking too much. The lights here are steadier, but that only makes the shadows clearer. On the wall, streaks. Not blood, not quite. Something darker. Something dried and wrong in a way that blood could never manage on its own. Beside it, a note, half taped, half torn. You don't read it. Not because you don't want to, but because reading would make it real. Let it stay half true, half whispered, half hoped. You hear something fall in the next room. A soft collapse, a chair tipping, a person remembering gravity. Your fingers close around the handle of the door before your mind finishes arguing with your body. It opens too easily, and inside, it is colder. The windows are sealed, the vents are open. A desk chair lies on its back like a beetle that gave up. There's movement in the corner, not fast, not hostile, just unwell. A figure, hunched, chewing maybe, or crying. It's hard to tell. You don't announce yourself. This isn't that kind of world. Instead, you watch, just long enough to be remembered. And then, as though sensing your gaze, the figure twitches, turns, slowly. Skin like paper pulled too tight. Eyes that forgot what blinking means. Teeth not bared, but present. You step backward, and the thing that used to be a man begins to rise. Its joints protest. Its breath stutters. But it comes forward all the same. You close the door, quietly. It doesn't follow. Not yet, or maybe ever. You've learned by now that not everything that sees you chooses to care, and not everything that doesn't is blind. You find the stairs again. They smell like rot and effort. Each step creaks like a spine. The railing is sticky. You use it anyway. The floor above is darker, but not less familiar. A locker stands open, its contents spilled like a confession. A flashlight flickers in the distance, unattended. You move toward it, though you don't know why. When you arrive, there's no one there. Just the beam, spinning slowly where it fell. painting circles on the walls like a lighthouse with nothing left to guide. You take the flashlight, not to see, just to carry. It feels wrong to leave it alone. Eventually, you reach another room. Inside, chairs are stacked, tables turned, a projector left mid-frame, the image burned into the wall, a frozen moment of a life that went on without you. Or tried to. And in the corner, another figure, not moving, slumped, dead, or remembering how to be. You don't wait to find out. You leave the room with care, as though your own presence might disturb what little peace remains. The hall beyond is longer than you remember. The doors look the same, but none of them belong to you. You listen as you walk, for footsteps, for voices, for the sound of something that might have once been comfort. All you hear is the faint echo of your own journey, trailing behind like a ghost without ambition. And then you stop, because you see something. A badge on the floor, still clipped to a shirt, still connected to a name. You don't pick it up, you don't need to. You already know who they were. You already know they're still here. Not alive, not gone, just waiting. And as you turn the corner, the hallway stretches ahead like a question no one wants answered. The air is thick. The lights are tired. Your feet move because they must. And behind you, very softly, something moves. Not fast, not loud, just present. Like memory, like grief, like something that used to be a person. The scent of wet stone still clings to your sleeves as you step past the threshold of another corridor that does not remember your name. The air changes here, less like mold and more like breath, stale and waiting. You pause without meaning to, without thinking. A hush passes through you, a stillness with weight. You don't look up, not yet. But your shoulders already know. Something is overhead. The hallway stretches ahead like a throat, ribs of metal and concrete arching in a slow downward slope. Lights overhead flicker not with urgency, but with fatigue. The kind that buzzes softly, like an old refrigerator, or a dying fly against glass. Beneath the hum, something else stirs. A wetness that isn't dripping, a presence that doesn't walk. It hangs, heavy and unseen. And you remember too late that ceilings are not always ceilings. Sometimes they are stages. Sometimes they are traps. You move forward anyway. Your boots know better than to make noise here, though the ground is littered with the flotsam of another collapse. Upturned chairs, shattered tile, the soft smudge of something that once bled. You navigate it all like a guest arriving late to a wake. Careful, quiet, aware that everything here has already been lost once. You don't want to make it worse. Something overhead shifts. The ceiling is too far, too dark, too textured with pipes and wires and sagging cables to reveal itself easily. But movement is not easily hidden in silence. You feel the air ripple above you, not wind, not breath, just gravity, warping softly as something repositions itself. A whisper of flesh on metal, a sound that means nothing and everything. You still do not look up. Your light catches the edge of a metal vent, the kind that rattles when it's supposed to be empty. This one does not rattle. This one waits. You pass beneath it like a prayer through a broken chapel, silent, hoping not to be heard. You don't know if it works. You only know that the corridor opens into something wider. A chamber, maybe. The kind made for storage, or interrogation, or waiting without purpose. The light here has given up entirely, so you bring your own. A small beam, a narrow blade that carves out more questions than answers. You slice it across the room and pause on a shape, not a person, not anymore. It used to be. You can tell by the posture, the way it leans against the wall like someone who didn't sit, but slid, boneless and surprised. Its face is wrong, but the shoes are ordinary. That's the part that sticks with you. They look clean, like they just stepped into this. You take a step closer and the ceiling sighs. It's the only word for it. A long, low exhale, like someone disappointed you didn't leave faster. The sound is wet, and it pulls at your spine. You freeze again, not in fear, in memory. You've heard this before. Behind a vent, behind a wall, behind your back, when you thought you were alone. You don't aim the light up, you just wait. Because looking will not stop it. Because knowing changes nothing. Because whatever it is, it already knows where you are. Still, your hand trembles slightly. Not from fear, but from awareness. The kind of awareness that lives in your neck and your pulse and the pit of your stomach. The kind that makes you feel like you've already been bitten. You just haven't found the wound yet. The shape on the wall groans. A piece of it peels away. Not muscle, not flesh. Just fabric, soaked and giving up. You blink and realize it wasn't the shape that groaned. It was the ceiling again. You move. Slowly, like someone pretending to be brave. You find the door without looking for it, and it opens with a click that feels too loud, too final. You close it behind you as though that will matter. The next hallway is narrower. No vents here, just pipes, fat and rusted and leaking things you do not name. The walls sweat, the air tightens, the kind of corridor that squeezes thought out of you. Your mind wanders, not forward, but inward. You remember a hallway like this in another building, a janitor's closet, a broken sink, the way the light used to flicker for no reason. You remember thinking it felt haunted, even then. Back in the present, a wet plop behind you reminds you that haunted is no longer metaphor. You don't turn around. There's no point. If it's followed, it will follow. That's what they do. Not chase, not run. Just follow, quietly, patiently, like regret. Another room opens ahead. This one wider, brighter. An old locker room, maybe. Something with benches and dented metal doors. The floor is flooded, not deep, but enough to catch reflections. You don't want to look down. You do anyway. Your own shape stares back, twisted by ripples, cut by light. Beside it, for just a breath, another shape. Long, spindly, hanging upside down, then gone. You look up. There's nothing there. Just the sound of a locker slowly creaking open on its own. You enter anyway, because turning back is worse. Because every hallway behind you is now someone else's. You step between the benches, each one etched with memories you don't want to read. Initials, scratches, the ghost of gum once stuck and scraped away. The lockers breathe. You didn't know metal could do that. But it does. In here, everything breathes, except you. Your foot catches on something soft. You don't look right away. You crouch, slowly. The object is small, fabric, a uniform sleeve torn from its owner. It has a patch, a name you can't read anymore. You think about who wore it, whether they were brave, whether they screamed, whether something above them waited just long enough for them to hope. You rise. The room is smaller now, the air thicker. Your breath fogs. Not from cold, but from the pressure of being seen. You are being watched. You know this in the way animals do, the way prey does. It does not scare you. It saddens you. You thought you had more time before the watching began again. You leave the room through another door, one that sticks, one that resists you, like the building itself is tired of letting people pass. It opens eventually, and you step through with the quiet of someone entering a hospital wing at midnight. The hallway beyond is lined with old filing cabinets. Paper clutters the ground like autumn leaves. You don't read them. You only listen, because somewhere above, something shifts again. Not directly overhead. Not yet, but near. Always near. You move now like you're underwater. Each step a push against memory. Each corner a question you don't want answered. The world begins to hum, soft, steady, almost melodic. The song of air vents and tension. You follow it, not because it calls, but because it promises you are not the only one left who remembers what music felt like. And then, finally, the stairs, leading down. Always down. You don't hesitate, because down means darkness, but down also means distance. And for now, distance is hope. You descend with the care. Behind you, the ceiling creaks, not with movement, but with thought. You feel it watch. You feel it think. You feel it remember. The landing is damp. Moss pushes through cracks. A rat skitters. You envy its freedom. You envy its ignorance. You envy that it does not wonder what teeth feel like in the dark. And as the door at the bottom groans open, as you step once more into the wet belly of this building's quiet ruin, you do not look back. But you feel it, behind you, above you, waiting. Not to leap, not to attack, just to witness, just to see if you will look up. And in the silence that follows, a single droplet falls from the ceiling, slow, round, and warm, like breath, like blood, like memory. The last sound you heard was your own breath, and even that didn't seem to belong to you anymore. You had passed through a place where the ceiling hissed and the shadows tasted of blood, where the air curled against your skin like a warning, soft but certain. And then, silence again, heavy, resting on your shoulders like the first jacket you ever wore that didn't quite fit. Silence that pulled your name back into your throat, so that even thinking it felt like knocking too loudly. When you return, it's with the cautious gravity of someone re-entering a room where grief once slept. The station greets you not with welcome, but with memory. Not with safety, but with steadiness. The kind that doesn't soothe you, but reminds you you're still here, still moving. You follow a trail that isn't marked, but your feet know it. Past the statue that doesn't look as noble anymore. Past the scattered folders you swear rearrange themselves when you're not looking. The clock on the wall has stopped, or maybe it never worked to begin with. You don't check it. You don't need to. And then, just before the edge of that deep quiet cracks open into something lonelier, you hear him. Marvin. His voice doesn't rise. It doesn't push. It steadies, like hands laid gently on either side of your shoulders, not to hold you back, but to keep you upright. His words don't come quickly. They don't need to. Each one makes its way toward you like the slow sound of boots across wet tile. Solid, kind, tired. You can tell the pain has deepened. Not the pain of injury exactly. The other kind. The one that comes when your body starts bargaining with your soul. One trying to rest, the other refusing to let go. He speaks, and though he's fading, he still believes you are not. And that belief is a fragile, glowing thing. Not warm, but necessary. He doesn't tell you everything. He never does. Maybe it's because he knows that in this place, too much truth is a kind of cruelty. So he leaves space between the words. Space where you can imagine something better. Space where his silence sounds like trust. The room he's in hasn't changed, but you see it differently now. The light through the blinds is softer, or maybe it's just dimmer. The furniture doesn't creak as much, as if it too has begun to hold its breath. There's blood, but it has settled, like a memory that has stopped trying to be felt. You move slowly, so you don't wake the stillness. Marvin looks at you, and you see it clearly this time. Not just the wound, but the strength it takes not to fight it. The courage it takes to sit still in the middle of the end and offer someone else a beginning. He tells you what you need to do, where to go, who to look for. You nod, though you aren't sure how much you understand. It doesn't matter. What matters is that he is still here, still choosing to speak instead of closing his eyes, still placing faith where others would place fear. When you leave the room, the sound of your footsteps feels louder than it should. You try to soften them, but the floor remembers you. Every step echoes. Every step reminds you of who is still behind you, and who won't be for much longer. The station opens again before you. The halls breathe, the walls sigh. The air wraps itself around you like a coat borrowed from someone braver. You pass doors you've already opened, places you've already searched. But they feel different now, like they know something is ending. You pause once, outside the room where you first met him. You remember the way his voice cut through the chaos. Clear, but not commanding. Gentle, but not weak. He had steadied you before you even knew you were shaking. Now the shaking is softer, less a tremble, more a rhythm. The rhythm of moving through a place where death lingers, but doesn't always win. You touch the door frame as you pass. You don't knock, you don't speak. but something of you stays there. A breath, a warmth, a promise. The world doesn't roar here. It hums. And in that hum, you carry his voice. Not in your ears, in your spine. In the way you choose to keep walking. In the way you move like someone who has been believed in. You descend a staircase that smells of old rain and older regrets. Water stains streak the walls like shadows that never dried. At the bottom, the air thickens. It presses gently, like the palm of a hand against your back. Not pushing, just reminding you to go. There is no music, only the sound of your boots and the memory of Marvin's voice. Steady, low, unwavering. It follows you, not as an echo but as a thread. One that tethers, one that reminds you that even in a city where everything is coming undone, something held. Somewhere above you, he breathes. Still. For now. But you do not run, you do not rush. You walk as if each footstep has weight, not just from your own body, but from every moment someone has spoken gently to you when they could have shouted. Every moment someone chose to stay, when they could have fled. And so you continue. Through a corridor that smells like fire extinguished too late. Past a broken vending machine, humming a song it doesn't remember the lyrics to. Beneath a flickering light that does not want to choose between staying and leaving. You don't speak to anyone. There's no one to speak to. But Marvin's words are still with you, quiet and solid, not commands, just the shape of hope, pronounced softly. You pass a room that has collapsed in on itself. You don't go inside. You don't need to. Some things are meant to stay untouched, like grief or faith. And somewhere inside you, a thought settles like dust. He believed in you, not because you had done something, not because you had proven anything, just because you were there, still breathing, still listening, still trying. That, it seems, was enough. You climb a ladder that moans under your weight. At the top, the air smells different, cleaner, or maybe just less haunted. You pause, hands still on the final rung. You almost look back. Almost. But instead, you inhale, slowly, and you step forward. Ahead of you, the corridor curves out of sight. Behind you, a voice rests, not gone, just waiting to be remembered. And somewhere, in the silence that follows, a radio clicks softly, once, then stops, like breath held, like the quiet between words that still matter. Like Marvin, still steady, still there, still yours, even as you go. You carry his voice with you still, like something tucked under your collar or folded inside your palm. It doesn't echo, not really. It just remains, quiet, resigned, faithful in a way that refuses to flicker, even as the rest of the world forgets to hold its shape. The hall bends, and you follow. The air tastes like dusted brass and rain that's been waiting too long to fall. Somewhere, behind the walls, the building shifts, not dramatically, just enough to remind you it's not hollow, not entirely. And then, the library. It looms, not because it means to, but because it can't help it. Even the doors seem embarrassed by what they're holding back. They open not with ceremony, but with the deep, reluctant breath of something that's been sleeping too long. Inside, the silence is not total. It breathes, it flexes, it groans. Books don't whisper in here. They remember. And those memories are heavy. Too heavy for the shelves that cradle them, too patient for the dust that tries to bury them. You step in, and the floor beneath you responds. Wood moans, long and low, like a spine pulled too far. Every inch of this room protests your weight, not angrily, just honestly. You are not the first to tread here. You are only the latest echo. Above you, the gallery curves into shadow, railings worn smooth by hands that never turned back. Below, rows of shelves lean like tired sentinels, not quite straight, not quite falling, just leaning, just listening. The ceiling disappears into soft dusk, the kind that isn't lit, but remembered. There might be windows. There might not. The light comes from nowhere you can name. It hangs like fog, thick with the ache of things once known, now lost somewhere between the pages. You walk slowly, not out of caution, but reverence. The air asks you to. Your breath, when you let it out, sounds too loud, too alive. The books do not look at you, but they know. Some are intact, others swollen, ruptured by time. Pages curled like old petals, letters faded to a whisper. Some lie open on the floor, as if dropped mid-thought. Others remain sealed, their secrets held tighter than ever, too proud to be read by someone who bleeds. You reach out once, almost touching the spine of something leather-bound and crumbling. But you don't. You leave it where it leans, because some memories aren't yours to carry. There are ladders here, movable ones, set on tired wheels. You imagine the sound they'd make, rolling slow across the rails, scattering dust like soft rain. You do not touch them either. The groan comes again. Not from you, not from the walls, from everywhere. Like the room is exhaling. Not because it's dying, but because you are here. You keep moving. Up the stairs now, a creaking spiral that wraps like a question around nothing. The steps are not trustworthy, but they hold. At the top, you pause. The view offers no clarity, only height. The rows below ripple in shadow. The air is different here, colder, or maybe lonelier. The kind of cold that settles in your ribs, not your skin. You move along the upper walkway. Your fingers trail the rail. Dust clings. Beneath it, smooth wood. Old, patient. The kind of patience that doesn't need you, but allows you. And then, movement. Not sharp, not sudden. Just present. You do not see it. You do not need to. The shape of the air changes. The light bends. A shiver runs the length of the floor. Not a threat. Not yet. Just the suggestion of teeth. A pause too long in the darkness. A breath that isn't yours. You don't run. Not because you're brave. Because the room won't let you. It holds your steps in place like molasses. Every footfall argues with the groaning wood. The ceiling looms lower now, though you haven't moved. Or maybe it's just watching. You descend again. The way down is louder than it was going up. Each step is a memory protesting your return. At the bottom, you find the platform, the one with the broken track. You stare at the gap. It isn't wide, but it feels like a story left unfinished. The kind where the last page is torn out, and all that remains is a smudge. There's a lever here. You pull it. The mechanism answers, slow, rust-choked, reluctant. Gears whine. Metal argues with itself. The floor shifts, rearranges, remembers its duty. And all the while, the presence remains. Above, below, beside. Never fully here. Never fully gone. You feel it more than you hear it. Like breath on the back of your neck. Like eyes that don't blink. Like something waiting to see if you deserve to pass. The floor beneath the shelf creaks again. But the shelf doesn't move. You move. The smell of oil is strong here. Ancient. Like the sweat of the machine that forgot how to sleep. A shadow passes behind the shelves. Long. Fluid. Curious. You pause. It pauses too. You are not alone. But you are not hunted. Not yet. The library does not hunger. It remembers. And that is worse. You keep walking. Toward the last stretch. The final shelf. Each step now is a decision. Each breath, a vote for continuing. And when you reach the far wall, the hidden door, the puzzle of levers and broken spaces, you do not rejoice. You hesitate. Because leaving means forgetting, and something in you doesn't want to. You glance back once, just once. The shelves stare back, unmoved. The presence fades, not in fear, in disinterest. You were just a whisper here, and the library, heavy, groaning, aching with memory, closes around itself again, like a mouth, like a tomb, like a place that never really opened. The hidden door shudders open, dust stirs, and the light that seeps through smells like old paper and almost hope. You step through, and the wood groans behind you. Just once more. A farewell. Not warm, not cold, just remembered. And then the door closes, and the groan becomes silence again, a silence that follows you, like a final page turned without a sound, like a chapter that never quite ends. The last door shuts behind you not with a bang, but with the sound of weight reasserting itself, as if the world had been holding its breath and finally exhaled. What came before was narrow and hard, hallways filled with whispers that didn't want to be found. But now, there is space. You step out, and the ceiling gives way to something wider than dread. It's not silence, not exactly, but quieter, in a different register. The kind of quiet that hums with things growing out of sight. The sky above doesn't stretch in glory, it sulks. Gray, layered, soft like damp cotton pressed low. Rain does not fall, but it has recently. Everything is wet in the way that remembers. The courtyard is a contradiction, a place outside, locked inside, a garden without joy. The stone beneath your boots is cracked and uneven, old bricks clinging to the shape they were meant to hold. Green spills over everything. Ivy spills like a forgotten thought across the wall. Moss, thick and quietly thriving, creeps in the corners where human feet do not. Roots reach into mortar as though trying to pull the whole place down into the soil, brick by brick. You walk slowly. Not because you are tired, though you are. Not because you are cautious, though you should be. But because this is a place where time feels different. Like the air itself is heavier. Like memory has seeped into the ground here and made everything sluggish. Your footsteps do not echo. They press. They land. They fade. Somewhere nearby, water trickles. Not fresh, not clean, but steady. It seeps down from a broken pipe overhead and disappears into the broken edge of a forgotten drain. You pass a fountain that doesn't flow anymore. The basin is choked with wet leaves and something that may have once been feathers. There's a statue in the center, worn to near featurelessness. Its face has eroded, but the hands remain, reaching, holding something invisible. You pause there, if only for a moment, and feel the way your breath condenses in this open air. Warmer than the hall behind you, cooler than the fear that follows you. The garden doesn't offer safety, but it offers pause. And that's nearly the same thing. The windows above are shuttered, their glass streaked and fractured. Behind them, stories ended or didn't. You won't know. You never will. That's the thing about this place. It doesn't care what you do. The city is indifferent. The stone doesn't mourn. The ivy does not recoil. A bench leans crookedly under a tree that doesn't belong here. Its roots crack the stone beneath like slow, invisible explosions. You sit briefly, though you do not mean to. Your body just chooses to. It feels like a place people might have talked once. Lunches forgotten on laps, hands brushing together beneath the canopy. You imagine a laugh that once echoed here, not yours, not now, but still echoing somewhere deep in the loam of time. You don't stay long. There is always movement, even when there's none. The garden sighs through the wind that coils low and damp. You rise. The path curves inward, narrow again, walled by growth and ruin. A door stands at the end, rust curling its hinges like fingers gone arthritic. You press forward. The scent changes here. More wet stone, more iron, something beneath the moss and vines that speaks of the buried. A low creak, not from you, hums through the air. Not aggressive, just aware, like the garden has noticed you and does not yet care. Somewhere overhead, birds argue without joy. Their wings slap at the damp air. Not fleeing, not nesting, just surviving, like you. You find a key on a bench, half sunk into the swollen wood. Someone left it. Someone meant to return. Or maybe they didn't. You don't know. But it's cold in your hand, and it opens something, somewhere. That's enough. Further on, a gate stands closed. Locked, of course, but not forever. Vines curl through the bars like fingers trying to hold it shut. You step closer, and they do not flinch. Nature does not yield here. It simply waits, and takes, and grows. You remember, briefly, the warmth of an office, or the closest thing to warmth you had found in this place. A voice on the radio, a badge, a wound, the things that tether you to meaning, pulled tight and fraying. Marvin's voice echoes, not through the garden, but through your ribs. A memory carried in blood instead of air. You move again, past a rusted lamppost, long dead. Past a wall where ivy has eaten the warnings off a sign. Past a puddle that reflects not your face but only the gray above. You do not look into it again. There is a statue near the back, not the elegant kind. Cruder. A woman maybe, maybe not. Time has stripped her of purpose. One arm broken off, the other stretched downward, palm upturned, as if still waiting for something. Rain, perhaps, or forgiveness. You don't offer either. Another bench, another door, another pause. You lean against the stone wall just for a moment. Let it hold your weight. Let the cold pass into you so you don't have to feel it anymore. Your breath fogs and vanishes. The garden does not care. It will keep breathing long after you've left. You hear a soft sound, almost a footstep, almost a sigh, behind, beyond. The presence is not hostile, not yet, but it is there. The garden is not empty. It never was. You do not look back. You do not run. You move forward, because that's all you can do. You pass under an arch where vines hang like curtains. You touch one as you go. Soft, damp, almost warm. It clings to your sleeve for a heartbeat before letting go. The final door stands ajar. Not open, but waiting. Light spills out from behind it, faint and flickering, like it's trying to pretend it isn't dying. You step through, and the garden does not follow. It remains behind you, locked in stone, held in ivy, breathing slow and green and endless. A single drop of water lands on your shoulder. You do not brush it away, and somewhere, behind you, the wind gathers in the trees and exhales. Not a farewell, just a reminder that it was real, that it is still there. Waiting. The rain fades behind stone and steel, muffled by layers of concrete and memory. What lingers is the smell of it, soaked into your clothes, your hair, the lining of your breath. You carry it with you as you move back inside, as doors creak shut behind your spine, as silence gathers again like fog. This part of the station feels like something forgotten by time. Less police station, more mausoleum. You pass through wide halls that seem to inhale behind you, as if they were holding their breath, waiting for you to leave. Light filters in from high barred windows, dust hanging in its path like the remains of conversations long since ended. The air smells like mildew and gun oil, the kind of scent that nestles into the fabric of everything. Walls, uniforms, thoughts. You are not alone, but you already knew that. You first felt it as a tremor, a shudder in the floor like the earth itself had hiccuped, then another, slower, heavier, like the world grew legs, and then nothing. That silence, again. The kind that seems respectful, almost. Like the building knows what's coming and would rather not interrupt. You move anyway, not because you're brave, not because you're ready, but because something inside you knows the difference between stillness and death. You can't stay still. The hall curves. You follow it. A door sighs open, and the room greets you with the gentle creak of wood too old to protest. You are in the library again. High ceilings, red railings. A space that groans under the weight of knowledge, or maybe just the weight of being ignored for too long. Books slump on their shelves like tired workers. Dust coats every ledge like a blanket too thin to warm, but too stubborn to shake off. And then it happens. The footsteps. They don't echo. They land. Deliberate, measured, slow, not slow from hesitation. Slow like a ritual. And when you hear them, something in you tightens. Not your muscles. Deeper. Something ancestral. A memory from a time when people still feared thunder. You don't need to see him to know. The sound is enough. The boots are too heavy. Each step seems to disagree with gravity, as if the floor should not be expected to bear this. You breathe, shallow. Try to become small. Try to become forgotten. But the steps grow louder, closer, hungrier. You finally see him. The hat comes first. Crisp, unmoved. A shape of authority, bent into something colder. Then the face, or what's left of it. Not monstrous exactly, not rotting, just unreadable. like the features were sculpted in clay and then forgotten before the artist finished, a jaw clenched in permanent resolve, eyes that do not search, because he already knows where you are. He does not run. He never has. He just moves. Toward you. You move too. Faster. The library moans under your feet as you cross it again. Bookshelves roll aside with the stubbornness of stone. The clatter echoes far more than you want. The door is there. You press through it, breath hitching, heart not racing but bracing. He doesn't speak. He never does. But he always follows. That's the part that cracks something in you. Not the footsteps, not the strength, but the consistency. The way he never forgets, never slows, never doubts. You've been hunted before, but never by someone who looked so calm doing it. The station becomes a loop again, a dream where you run through the same doors and find the same shadows, rearranged just enough to feel unfamiliar. You know these halls, but now they hold echoes that belong to him. You pass the art room, the conference hallway, the statue of the angel missing her eyes. You don't remember seeing her blink. You try hiding. A closet. A storage room. You hold your breath not because you think it will help, but because noise feels like betrayal. Even the thrum of your pulse feels dangerous now. And then, silence. No boots. No creak. No breath. You wait. You wait longer. You begin to believe he's gone. You step out, and there he is. Not rushing. Not flailing. Just there. As if he had never not been. You can't remember when you last blinked. Your mouth tastes like fear, dry and coppery. He steps closer. Your shoes find purchase on the floor by instinct, not choice. You move again. You always do. But the corridors narrow. The station becomes more than a place. It becomes a pressure, a tightening of space, a closing of options. You're not just being chased. You're being herded. And you wonder for a moment if that's worse. There's a stairwell. You take it. Up. Always up. Your knees don't want to bend anymore. Your shoulder still aches from earlier. Something dislocated. Something ignored. Pain is a second companion now. Less loyal than the man behind you, but always near. At the top, you find breath. For now, you close the door. For now. You hear nothing. For now. But you know. You know he is not gone. You know he cannot be reasoned with, or tired out, or avoided. He is not a man in pursuit. He is the pursuit. You are not his target. You are the space that is incomplete without his steps behind it. He is not rage. He is not hunger. He is momentum. And momentum doesn't rest. Eventually your breath slows. The world stops spinning. The room is quiet and the walls feel thicker here. You allow yourself to listen to the rain again. You notice that it's gotten softer, less insistent, like the sky itself is exhausted. You lean against a filing cabinet. It groans. You close your eyes, not to sleep, just to be still in a way you haven't in hours. And in that stillness, you realize something new. You are not afraid of dying. You are afraid of being caught. Because somehow, the idea of stopping, of his hand finally on your shoulder, of that strength finally pressing down, feels heavier than death. Like becoming part of a story that never ends, a loop without mercy. You open your eyes again. The moment breaks. The footsteps will return. But for now, you have space. For now, you have silence. For now, you are the breath between steps. And somewhere below, the boots are walking again. Not toward you exactly, just forward. The air still carries echoes of footsteps that never ran. Heavy, deliberate. A sound that didn't chase but chose. And now, silence again. But it's not peace. It's just the shape the fear takes when it's run out of corners to fill. You find yourself in another corridor. The city, the station, the courtyard. All of it slowly sinking into memory behind you. What's ahead is neither darker nor quieter, but it feels smaller, tighter. The walls lean in here, and the paint is peeled in long vertical strips, like it too once tried to leave. The building smells older now, less like rot, more like dust and paper, and sorrow. That too. The kind of sorrow you don't shout about. The kind you fold up into letters no one reads. You move quietly, not because you fear being heard, but because the place feels like it's been asleep too long. As though your footsteps might wake something that remembers being left behind. There is a nursery once, or something that tried to be. A playroom rearranged by time and absence. Small chairs tipped sideways. A broken crayon beneath a radiator, melted into something that no longer draws. A stuffed bear stares at nothing from a high shelf, its fur the color of forgotten snow. You can't tell if its eyes were always uneven, or if one has been loosened by time or grief. The corners of the room curl in like the pages of an old book, warped by water and years of no one. And then, a whisper, not a voice, a feeling that something here once wept and no one heard. You don't need to know who. You already do. It's in the way the hall turns just a little too sharply, in the way the lights flicker only when you exhale, in the way every door has a memory waiting on the other side, even the ones you never open. The stairs creak. Of course they do. This place is built on creaks and sighs. You press your hand against the wall as you descend, fingers brushing old paint that flakes like ash. Below, a hallway stretches long and low, lit by flickering fluorescents that hum like a lullaby that never learned the melody. There is a door that feels heavier than it looks. Inside, the air changes. Warmer, not safer, but warmer. Like something still breathes here, even if only in dreams. A bed too small for anyone who'd survived this long. A drawing curled up beneath a desk. Lines scrawled in crayon. A family with no faces. Just shapes, colored in with hope. You kneel, not to pray, just to be smaller, gentler, to let the room speak first. There's a closet door that's slightly ajar, a thin beam of light sneaking through the crack. It isn't moving, but it feels watched. Not dangerous, not quite, just seen. A floorboard groans softly, and you still. Your own breath sounds too loud in your ears now. You know there is someone here, small, trembling, trying not to be. You don't call out, you just wait, as though presence might be enough. And then quietly the air shifts. A face peeks out, young, tired, eyes wide, not with innocence, but with too much knowing. You don't remember her name at first. You don't need to. You remember the feeling that someone too young to understand has already understood too much. She doesn't move toward you. Not yet. Trust takes time, even in places where time has folded in on itself. You sit, back against the desk, legs pulled in, and let silence do what words never could. Somewhere outside, thunder rolls without rain. Inside, her breath evens. She steps out slowly, as if the ground might break beneath her. She clutches something, a key, or maybe just hope shaped like one. Her fingers are small and pale, like paper held too long under light. She does not speak, and neither do you. When she finally reaches your side, she doesn't sit. She leans, just slightly, enough to suggest that maybe being near you is not the worst thing in this world. The hallway behind you now feels further away, like another life entirely. The building groans again, not in warning, but in memory, as if even its walls remember the footsteps of a girl who never ran, only hid. You rise together, slowly, not because of threat, but because gentleness is the only thing left worth holding. Her hand fits inside yours like a note passed in class, small, secret, trembling with what it dares to share. You move through the building like shadows learning how to walk. Her footsteps barely make sound, but you feel them in your bones. She moves like someone used to being overlooked, not unseen, just avoided, as if even the danger knew how fragile she was, and chose to let her stay scared instead of broken. A hallway opens into an office, papers still pinned to corkboards with thumbtacks rusted to their cores. Somewhere, a radio crackles, not with voices, just with the ghost of connection. The girl stiffens, and you gently turn the dial until the static fades. Silence, again. She exhales. So do you. You pass a door with glass shattered in a spiderweb pattern. It reflects your face wrong. Too long. Too tired. Her reflection doesn't appear at all. You do not ask why. Some things are better left unrevealed. Some stories tell themselves only through what they refuse to show. There's a hallway that leads to another set of stairs, the kind of stairs that spiral too tightly, as if built for secrets, not people. She hesitates at the top. You glance at her, and she nods, just once. That's enough. The descent is slow. Each step is an apology to the one before it. Dust stirs like memory. The air gets colder again. Basements always do this. They gather the cold and keep it like regret. At the bottom is a storage room. Locked. Of course. Her hands shake as she raises the key. It fits, but barely. The lock turns with a groan like something old being asked to remember its purpose. Inside, the room breathes. Faintly. Boxes stacked. Toys from another era. A stroller folded in a corner. A single red shoe with no pair. She lets go of your hand to step forward. You let her. Some things can only be done alone. She walks toward a small table where a music box rests, the kind that once played lullabies in rooms that no longer exist. She touches it, not to play it, but to remember what it sounded like. Then she looks back at you, and there is something in her eyes. Not quite a smile, not quite sorrow. Just understanding that you are not here to fix anything, only to witness and to stay. You leave the room together, but slower. The weight has changed. It's not heavier, just more honest. Upstairs, the light from a distant window touches her face. She blinks against it, as if the sun still surprises her. You pause beside a bulletin board where children's drawings have faded into near invisibility. One of them is of a house. It has no roof, but the people inside are holding hands. She points at it, then at you. You nod. In this moment, nothing is solved. Nothing is saved, but something is shared. And that sometimes is the only escape left. You move again. The hallway seems shorter now, the walls less close. She walks beside you, still silent, but less afraid of the silence. And as you step through the door that leads away from this place, not to safety, but simply to elsewhere, the last thing you hear is the soft click of that old music box, playing half a tune, then stopping. And in the quiet that follows, you hear your own breath again. Steady. Still here. Still. The music box no longer plays, but its memory lingers. A note half held, a lullaby half lived. The echo fades as the door closes behind you, sealing the hush like a forgotten letter. You carry more than silence now. You carry presence, a weight that does not press, but clings softly, like a thread tied around your wrist, pulled gently by something that trusts you not to let go. She walks beside you, her footsteps half a beat behind yours, muffled by smaller soles meeting larger tiles. You don't look at her. You don't need to. Her hand is in yours, small, warm, and slow to squeeze. That is how you know it's real. Not by the feel of skin, but by the cautious, quiet way it stays. Her fingers don't wrap all the way around yours. They settle there, like a question that trusts you with its answer. The hallway does not resist your return. The walls seem to pull back, just slightly, as if space is making room for the two of you. Light bleeds through cracks in the ceiling. Not sunlight, but something more artificial, humming gently like a sleeping machine. It does not flicker now. It holds steady. Perhaps it has decided that she deserves something steady. There is still dust in the air, soft as dandelion seeds caught in a breath. It clings to your eyelashes, rests on the back of your hand, catches the faint glint of her bracelet. A plastic thing, bright once, dulled now by time and hiding. She fiddles with it, absently, the way children do when silence gets too big. Her knuckles are scuffed. Her nails are short. A bit of glitter still clings to one of them. A shimmer of a world she isn't in anymore. You pass a mirror with a crack down the center. Your reflection splits but doesn't distort. Two halves of the same breath. You in one pane, her in the other. Her face only reaches the lower third of the glass. A tilt of her head, a flick of light, and then her fingers tighten around yours, and the world continues. The elevator hums when you press the button. It sounds reluctant, not broken, just tired. The doors open slow, like heavy eyelids, revealing a space no bigger than a closet. You both step in, and the doors sigh shut behind you. Inside, it smells of metal and forgotten heat. The light overhead buzzes, faint and constant. She stands close, not pressed against you, but near enough that her shoulder brushes your arm with every small movement. You glance down. Her chin barely clears your elbow. She shifts her weight, and her shoes squeak, the kind that light up, though now they no longer do. You say nothing, neither does she. But the quiet between you feels full, not hollow. The elevator descends, slowly. Like it, too, is unsure whether going deeper is a kindness or a mistake. The walls rattle softly, like bones trying not to wake the body they once belonged to. You feel the weight shift in your knees, the subtle downward tug of gravity wearing a velvet glove. When the doors part, it's to another hallway, wider, colder, the kind of place built for function, not warmth. White tile, scuffed gray, pale light humming just a little too high in pitch. The kind of hallway where every sound echoes louder than it should, as if the walls are listening with interest. Sherry hesitates at the threshold, her hand still in yours, but now pulling ever so slightly back. Not enough to stop you, just enough to say she remembers something this place forgot. You glance down. Her knees have locked. Her lip is caught between her teeth. Her shoulders have drawn inward like wings afraid to open. You turn to her. Her eyes don't meet yours. They stare past, into shadows only she can see. You don't speak. You just wait. Eventually, she steps forward. Just one step, but enough. You match her pace, slow and even, like a metronome for a lullaby never sung. Her breath is audible now, shallow, careful. You wonder if she even realizes she's holding half of it in reserve. She shifts her grip on your hand. Not tighter, just more deliberate, like remembering you're still there. A door appears at the end of the hall, red lit and sealed with too many locks. You pause before it. She lets go of your hand, not quickly, but with the softness of someone setting something precious down. Her fingers drift toward the keypad, trembling just once before pressing a sequence you do not know. The locks disengage with a hollow series of clicks. The door opens. The room inside is warmer, not warm, but warmer, like the body heat of something long gone still clinging to the walls. A desk sits in the center, tidy in the way only emptiness can be. Papers stacked too neatly. A photograph frame face down. A cup with no stain inside it. There is a scent here. Familiar. Like someone who wore too much perfume once and stood too close. Faint floral with something metallic beneath it. You try not to breathe it too deeply. Sherry stands by the desk, staring at a spot on the floor as if memory might rise from it like mist. You stay back. This moment is not yours, but your presence is. So you stay. She crouches, fingers reaching for something unseen. Or maybe not reaching at all, just hovering, as though touching air might summon the shape of someone who isn't coming. Her shoulders curve inward. Her shoes creak faintly against the tile. The sound is soft as a gasp. You do not speak. You do not move. You simply let her grief be a shape in the room, unthreatened, uncorrected. A faint light glows behind a glass panel. A laboratory, maybe. Or a prison with test tubes. You can't tell. These places are made of both. She doesn't look at it. She already knows. Instead, she returns to you. Slower now, and smaller. Her hand slips into yours again. You close your fingers gently, and she doesn't pull away. You leave the room together. The hallway seems longer now, not darker, just quieter. As if it is listening less, allowing you privacy. A kindness you did not expect. There are stairs again. Up this time. The climb is slow, but she doesn't tire. Children have a way of continuing, even when everything inside them says stop. You admire that quietly, without praise. Praise is loud. She deserves something softer. At the top is a door that resists your push. Not locked, just heavy with history. When it opens, wind greets you. Not cold, but sharp, like the breath of the outside trying to sneak in before it's allowed. You step out onto a narrow platform. The city sprawls below, distant, blurred by fog and distance. Lights blink like fireflies trying to remember the rhythm. Sherry leans against the railing, both hands gripping the edge. Her knuckles are pale. Her hair lifts slightly in the breeze. Her bracelet catches the light. One last glint of childhood in a world trying to end it. She says nothing, just watches. You do the same. There is something sacred in shared silence, something holy in the knowledge that you don't have to fill it. You stand beside her for a long time, maybe hours, maybe minutes. Time bends here, softly, like grass beneath bare feet. When at last she turns to you, her face is unreadable, not blank, just too full for one expression to carry. But her hand slips into yours again, and you know that for now at least, she is choosing to move forward. With you. You re-enter the building. The door closes behind you with a soft seal, like lips pressing together to keep a secret. There is no music, no enemy, no voice over a speaker. Just her hand, still in yours, still warm, still here. And in the soft hum of the hallway, something flickers. A light, maybe. Or a thought you don't yet have words for. And that's where the chapter ends. Not with an answer, but with a presence. A pulse, a breath. Stillness that does not mean silence. Stillness that waits, like her hand in yours. It begins not with a step, but a sound. The hiss of a hatch unlatching. The low groan of old metal bowing beneath its own memory. The echo carries before you do. Down into the dark, where walls are wet and names go to be forgotten. You press forward, the edge of your shoe, not a boot, but something smaller. Something scuffed at the toe and held together by old laces and new fear, touching rusted steel. The air thickens, the light above you fades, and down you go. The ladder is cold, not just to the touch. It seeps into your fingers, into your wrists, into the trembling spaces of your chest that once believed someone would come find you. It slips past sleeves too short and skin too thin. Below, the water waits. It doesn't ripple. It doesn't breathe. But it watches. It waits like a hallway that ends in a question. You descend into it like a word slipping from a whisper. Your foot lands in something shallow, but it pulls at you anyway. Not water, not exactly, not anymore. It's heavier than water should be, like soup left too long on the stove, thick with things that used to be whole. It oozes against your socks. The scent rises up to meet you like a wet hand. It clings to your skin, to your hair, slow and sour, like a breath that never belonged to you. You don't gag. That part of you shut down a while ago. Now you just clench your jaw and breathe through your teeth like adults do in the stories where they survive. The light is scarce, reluctant, and twitchy. Tubes line the walls like crooked bones, flickering in and out with that old sick kind of glow that makes everything look worse than it is, and somehow still not as bad. Some flare to life when you near. Others blink once and give up entirely. Your shadow comes and goes in broken pieces, hopping alongside you like a scared animal too small to help. You're not alone, but also not with anyone. Shapes shift just beyond your field of view. There are sounds with no footsteps, and splashes that don't belong to your shoes. A breath that's too long, a hum that's too deep. It comes from somewhere beneath. A tone too thick to be machinery, like something wet and fleshy and half asleep. You pass beneath a low arch, ducking instinctively. Your shoulder brushes damp brick. It gives a little, not like it's crumbling, but like it's breathing. The wall drips. Not rain, no, not even close. This drip is slower, thicker, like the building itself is sweating from a fever it can't shake. One drop finds the back of your neck. You jump, but only slightly. It slides down your spine with the same certainty as bad news. The tunnel widens. The floor dips. The water climbs. Your shoes vanish beneath the surface. The hem of your pants soaks dark and stays that way. You move forward. Not because you want to. Not because you're strong. But because this is the only direction that doesn't echo with footsteps behind you. The air changes again. Hotter now. Wet in a way that clings, not comforts. The stench has stopped smelling like rot and started to smell like breathing. like someone else's lungs too close to your face. Not dead, not alive, just waiting. There's a walkway ahead, grated metal, rusted at the edges. You climb onto it like you've done it before, even if you haven't. It groans under you but holds, barely. Your steps make little hollow sounds that bounce against the walls and come back sounding smaller than they should. To your left, there's something smeared on the wall. Red, not new, not old enough. A message? A scream? You don't read it. You don't need to. You just keep going. Because forward is what people do when backward isn't there anymore. There's a body. You know the shape even before you see the face. Slumped, spine bent, limbs soft. You don't flinch. You're past that. The skin is peeling, drifting off in ribbons like wet paper. No name tag, no story. Just another person who used to be someone. Another name that melted off in the flood. A glint catches your eye beneath the sludge. Metal. Small. You crouch to see it better. Knees creaking, shoes slipping on grime. A key. You reach for it slowly. Your fingers hesitant, but sure. You don't want to touch the hand beside it, but it happens anyway. The fingers slip free. The hand drops. It hits the water like it's trying to say something. The sound echoes. Too far. Too long. You wait, and then you hear it. Not a reply, a movement, a shift, something displacing something else. Large, wet. The kind of motion that drags air with it. You move, not fast. Fast makes noise. You walk, focused, heavy with breath. The path leads to a control room, half submerged, lights blinking weakly under layers of slime. The panels hum, not usefully. A map on the wall, once helpful, now shredded and warped. You press buttons. You don't know what they do. That's not the point. The point is to do something. Something clicks in the distance. A gate opens. The sound screeches down a corridor like a scream you weren't meant to hear. And then, something else. Behind that screech, a growl. Number, a groan, number. A body turning inside out. You step back out. The water shifts, this time not beneath your feet. It moves with weight, with hunger. A ripple licks at the edge of the walkway. You freeze, not from fear, from instinct. Your breath catches in your throat and refuses to leave. A hatch ahead, slightly ajar, light blinking red beside it. Not warning, not welcoming, just existing. You slip through it sideways. The door doesn't resist. The air inside is tighter, not fresher, more mechanical. Pipes hug the walls, some hiss, some drip. You follow them because they go somewhere, and somewhere is still better than here. You pass another body, this one newer. The skin still trying to look like skin, eyes open, staring without question. The badge reads, Michael. You say the name, quietly, maybe to remind yourself how names sound. But it fades fast. The room swallows it like food. Left, right, then down. You could draw a map, and it would still be wrong. The place loops. The hallways double back like bad dreams. Storage rooms appear and vanish. One smells like bleach and fire. You cover your nose and keep walking. Smelling is optional now. A long concrete bridge opens into a giant space. The kind that used to be useful, but now just exists to hold ghosts. Below, the water churns. Not fast, but thick. Shapes float. Not quite bodies. Not quite not. You don't stare. Staring means seeing. You walk the bridge. One step, then another. Then the sound. Not a step. A thud. Deep. Wet. Like a thought being born wrong. You freeze. You breathe through your ears now. The thud repeats. You walk faster. But not too fast. You reach the end of the bridge. A stair curves down, tight and curling like a bad decision. The sound fades, or waits. Down here the walls smooth out. Less decay, more dread. The signs on the wall are hand-scribbled, torn, layered over warnings you can't read. You follow them. Because what else? A locker room. You sit. Not because you're tired. You don't get tired anymore. You just stop. You listen. For water. For footsteps. For breath. You hear only the drip. A rhythm. Steady. Mocking. You stand again. You move. That's all this is now. Movement. Eventually, a door. Big. Heavy. It opens. Slowly. No lock, just reluctance. You push it. Inside, darkness. The real kind. The kind that doesn't make room for light. You step in. The door closes. Behind it, the thud starts again. Softer now, as if it missed you, as if it never stopped. And the water still drips, and the air still exhales, and all the names you've forgotten, or never knew, hover just beneath the surface, waiting. You do not speak. You do not look back. You walk, and the water folds in behind you, like a story ending itself. Soft, slow, and final. The shadows grow thicker, but you do not rush. Not anymore. The air down here is warm in the wrong places, thick in the lungs, heavy in the chest. It tastes like damp steel and old regret, a subterranean ache stitched into every brick. The walls glisten where water has tried to escape and failed. Pipes creak with the memory of pressure. You move slowly through it, boots sinking into puddles that ripple outward like small confessions. You are not sure who hears them. Behind you, the hum of machinery you cannot name continues its tired song. Ahead, a flicker of something. Not light exactly, but presence. Something waiting. Something that has waited. For you. For someone. For too long. And when the sound comes, wet, ragged, barely more than muscle dragging itself into meaning, you do not flinch. The fear has grown quiet now, like a dog that's barked itself hoarse. What you feel instead is that strange softness that lives at the edge of horror, pity, remorse, that trembling sympathy reserved for things that once were whole. You see the shape first, massive, misshapen, lurching toward the weak fluorescence that makes shadows cruel. It does not roar. It sighs through its teeth. It limps with purpose. One arm is no longer an arm. One eye no longer blinks. The meat has remembered something the man forgot, and it will not let go. You do not run. You do not scream. You simply watch as he finds you again, because he knows you, not you exactly, but something near you, something behind you, small, fragile, wrapped in a borrowed coat and breathing trust into your palm like it's her last defense. Sherry. Her name has weight now, like a candle cupped against the wind, and he remembers her. Not in the way he should. Not as a father, but as a shape buried under sickness. A pull in the rotted heart. You see it in the way he slows, in the hesitation of a creature that has not hesitated in days. There is no voice left in him, but there is memory. A picture once kept in a wallet now torn. Her smile barely grown. Her hair not yet brushed. She was there. She is not here. And that hurts more than the change. You do not know if he knows what he is, but he knows what he lost. He reaches out, and the limb twitches midair like it might become a hand again, like fingers might relearn gentleness. But the virus does not allow that. It has rewritten the language of touch. Every gesture is a fracture. Every breath is a war. Still, he pauses, and that is enough. You step backward slowly, feeling the pulse of Sherry's presence at your side. She is small, but steady. Her hand in yours is a whisper of a heartbeat, a reminder that not all things have turned. You squeeze gently, a signal with no words, only warmth. He watches, or the part of him that can still watch does. Maybe through an eye that no longer blinks. Maybe through something deeper, something stitched into sinew and memory. And for one moment, just one, he does not move. You see it then. Not the monster, not the broken body, but the father. Behind the ruin, behind the gnashing and the gore, there is a man who once stayed up late watching cartoons beside a feverish child, who once bandaged a scraped knee with hands that now crush steel, who once promised safety he could no longer give. That man is still inside the thing that stands before you, and he is mourning himself. He lunges, because memory is not stronger than instinct. The room becomes a blur of heat, and shrieking metal. You duck behind pillars not meant for shelter, past consoles blinking like dying eyes. He follows with the rage of someone who was supposed to protect and couldn't. Not from this, not from anything. He is chasing ghosts, and you are merely in the way. But even now, even as he crashes through barriers and rends the air with claws that used to be fingers, you do not hate him. How could you? He remembers her name. And somewhere inside this broken cathedral of flesh, he is crying. You see it in the way he hesitates when Sherry's voice calls out. Not loud, not commanding, just soft enough to cut through the roar. Just familiar enough to make him stop. His shoulders jerk, as if pulled by memory alone. His head tilts, and the bones beneath his skin forget their shape. You guide her back, behind you, away, not out of fear, out of mercy, because this is not her burden. It never should have been. She does not need to watch the last pieces of her father collapse under the weight of what he's become. You remain, and he charges again. Only this time it's slower. He is tired. He is unraveling. The virus burns bright and wild, but the man is fading, piece by piece, grunt by groan. And when at last the body stills, not dead, never truly dead, but curled inward like a question with no answer, you do not feel victory. You feel silence. And in that silence, you hear it. A breath, shallow and brief. Sherry, behind you, not crying. Just watching. Just being. She understands more than she should. She always has. And she does not ask you to explain. Instead, her hand finds yours again. Not tightly, not out of fear. Just presence. Just gravity. Like she needs to remind herself, and you, that you are still here. You look down at the thing that once loved her, the shell, the shadow, the father who tried, and failed, and tried again in the only way he could, with memory. You say nothing. There is nothing to say. But in the hollow quiet that follows, something shifts. Not in the body, not in the room, in you. A recognition. A slow, aching sympathy, because you are not immune to the way the world breaks people. You have seen what it does to love, how it bends it, burns it, mutates it until it is unrecognizable. But you've also seen how it clings, how it holds, how it remembers. He remembered her. And now, so will you. You lead her away, past the place where he fell, past the marks on the wall, the scattered notes, the blinking lights that still think someone is listening. You guide her through the aftermath with soft steps, with reverence. Behind you, the sound of breathless stillness. Ahead, only more unknowns. But between your hands, something sure, a heartbeat, a name, a thread that won't snap. And as you walk, you realize, this is not about survival anymore. This is about holding on. To her, to yourself, to the quiet truth that love lingers even when memory fades and flesh fails. This is about carrying what he couldn't. And as the door hisses closed behind you, you do not look back. But in the dark, you hear one last sound, a rustle of something shifting that should not shift. Maybe it's a dream. Maybe it's sorrow settling into stone. Maybe, even now, he remembers. And the corridor fades into quiet. A red light hums. Sherry exhales. And somewhere behind you, the world holds its breath. The tunnel behind you hums with the weight of what you left in it. Something beneath it all, beneath the water, beneath the ruin, beneath the horror, had remembered a daughter's name. You carry that memory now, like a breath you didn't realize you were holding. And forward, you descend into the place that once believed it could understand life by controlling it. The air changes before the doors even part. It's colder, but not from nature. This chill comes from machines and lights and decisions sealed behind biometric access panels and glass that doesn't shatter easily. You step through the threshold, and it's as though the world forgets how to echo. No rats scurry here, no wind, Only the gentle purr of automated lights blinking to life as you pass. You don't remember if you've taken a breath in the last few minutes, or if you want to. The floor is too clean. Not recently. No one has been here in some time, but clean in the way that feels wrong. Clinical, untouched. And in that untouched space, the ghosts feel louder. They're not the kind that reach out. They just wait. Behind every frosted window, beneath every sealed door. You can almost see the regrets built into the walls. Clean regrets, categorized and labeled, like the samples in the freezers. You walk slowly, not because you must, but because it feels like speed would be a violation. This place isn't meant for footsteps that hurry, only those that hesitate. Your shoes scuff across polished white tile, each sound too loud, too defined. You glance at a darkened corridor and find yourself holding your breath. Not from fear exactly, but from anticipation. Not everything down here is gone. Some of it lingers, in the way a system still buzzes, in the way a screen flickers even though no one's touched the keyboard in weeks. You pass a chair knocked over by someone who clearly meant to leave quickly. They didn't. You pause near a console. A monitor glows faintly. A security feed loops grainy footage of empty labs, a lobby where no one ever arrived. On another screen, notes, fragments of language, mutations, approval codes, the language of people who tried to name things they no longer understood. You scroll without meaning to, and something catches your eye. A photo, not of a monster, of a birthday cake. Someone's child, smiling in a lab coat 2 sizes too large. The corner of your mouth aches like it might remember how to lift. But it doesn't. Down another corridor now, doors hiss open at your approach. Not because they welcome you, because they don't remember how to stay closed. You step into a chamber that smells of antiseptic and something beneath it. Old blood dried so cleanly it almost smells like dust. There are plants in tubes, frozen mid-bloom. Things meant to grow here, and things meant to die. And sometimes they were the same thing. You move between the tanks, and each reflection is slightly off. The lighting does that, or the glass. Or maybe it's just that you don't fully recognize yourself anymore. Some doors do not open. They stare back with keypads blinking red, locked by codes their owners no longer remember. You trace a finger across a fingerprint scanner and feel how cold the metal is. It might still hold the warmth of the last person who touched it, months ago, or years, or yesterday. It's hard to tell in a place that forgot to measure time once the screaming stopped, or got quieter. In a side room, something hums. A refrigeration unit still alive. You open it gently, not knowing why. Inside, vials, row upon row of them. Blue, clear, amber. Labels too long, words too large. This is what they hoped would save them, or save their reputations. Maybe it made sense at the time. Maybe it was the only thing that did. But there is no one here to ask anymore. Only the vials. And the regret. On one of the desks, a note, handwritten. Not the printed kind with company headers and dates, but something scrawled quickly. A name, then another, then crossed out. A replacement. It's hard to know if it was an apology or a warning. You fold it back where you found it, gently, as if it still matters. Maybe it does. Further in, lights begin to fail. Not all at once, just flickers. One bulb above a containment chamber buzzes violently, casting shadows that never stay still. You move slower here. Something about this hallway doesn't want to be walked. The air is thick, almost soupy. You think about the things that once moved freely here. Not the creatures, the people. The ones who made coffee in break rooms, who ran simulations, who probably hated their bosses. What happened to them doesn't show in blood on the walls. It shows in the absence of chairs pulled out, in lab coats still hanging on hooks, in the way some notes trail off mid-sentence. A door waits at the end, larger than the rest, reinforced. You press your hand to the panel. It does not open. Another locked door. Another secret too afraid to be spoken aloud. You lean your head against it for a moment, the metal strangely warm. It's hard not to imagine the other side. A room full of answers that would never bring peace. The names of every experiment. The sequence that led to this city's slow unmaking. Maybe even voices, recorded in digital logs, saying sorry in 100 different ways, without ever quite meaning it. You don't go in. You turn instead. The regret is heavier here than any truth. Backtrack. Through the humming hallway, through the frost-breathing chambers. You pass a bloodstain, faint and perfect, like a petal pressed between pages. Someone died here, and someone cleaned it, and someone left it, all within minutes of each other. These aren't contradictions. They're the order of things. You find a ladder. It creaks when touched, but it holds. As you descend, the hum above you begins to fade. The lower levels are less pristine, more human, more broken. You hear dripping. You hear the soft, accidental whistle of a cracked pipe. You hear the kind of silence that isn't quiet. It's exhausted. This was the underlab, the place where things were hidden from the higher-ups, from the records, from the staff who still believed this was about medicine. You walk into a room lit only by emergency strobes. It flashes red, then dark, red, then dark. And in those half-lit beats, you see outlines, a broken gurney, a handprint on the floor, an overturned cup of coffee that stained everything except the mug itself. There's a computer still on. Its monitor glows blue. You don't sit, you just watch. A log flickers across the screen. Failed uploads, corrupted files. You read a few lines. Something about test subjects. Something about adverse reactions. Something about termination approved. You stop reading. The lab groans, not from something moving, but from something remembering. Places hold memory, and this one doesn't forget easily. You walk past lockers, one of them slightly ajar. Inside, a scarf, too small, child-sized. You don't touch it. Eventually, you reach a door that opens without protest. Beyond it, a chamber of glass and metal, pristine again. A final room, a final hope. A single vial in the center, lit from beneath like it matters. You don't know what it is. Not really. But someone told you it could help, could save, could undo some of the ache. And in this place, this awful, perfect place, you believe them, if only because you must. You pick it up. It's cold in your hand, heavier than it should be. You hold it the way people hold ashes. And as the door slides open behind you, letting you out, the lab remains quiet. It does not beg to be remembered. It already knows you will. Somewhere behind you, a monitor shuts itself off. A breath exhales from the vent, and the lights blink one last time, then stay still. You leave the lab with something you didn't have before. Not just the vial, but the weight that comes with holding a single fragile answer in a world built entirely from broken questions. It sits in your hand like a contradiction, delicate and cold and pulsing faintly against your palm, as if it remembers being made for something good. You don't clutch it. You carry it gently, reverently, like a glass heart that belongs to someone else. Maybe it always did. The door sighs closed behind you, and the sterile chill of the lab begins to melt into something quieter, not warmer. There's no warmth here, not really, but more human in its absence of pretense. Wires trail from panels that once blinked with intention. Chairs rest sideways against desks as though tipped in the middle of a thought. You pass by them in slow procession, your pace softened by something heavier than exhaustion. You are not hurrying now. There is no urgency in this step, only meaning. Every hallway echoes differently now. Before, the silence was heavy with waiting. Now it's full of knowing. You don't just move through these halls. You mark them, simply by the fact that you're still breathing. The floor lights hum beneath your boots, flickering now and then as though reacting to your presence. a feeble attempt to acknowledge you in the only language this place remembers. You take the elevator down, or maybe up. It's hard to tell anymore. Directions feel like polite fictions. The buttons glow dully, their labels rubbed nearly blank, but the one you need is already lit, as if chosen for you. The walls of the elevator are mirrored, but the reflection is blurred by streaks, smudges left by someone who leaned too hard or fell. You avoid looking at yourself directly. The version you see doesn't blink in time with your thoughts. There's a scent still clinging to your sleeve, faint, floral, out of place. Not from the lab, not from the dead, from her. It lingers like memory does, too subtle to name, too present to forget. You don't chase it, but you don't brush it away either. Some things are meant to haunt gently. When the doors open, you are met with another corridor, another breathless stretch of steel and sorrow. But it's not empty. You feel her before you hear her, a presence curled somewhere deeper, not waiting for you exactly, but bound to your arrival in ways neither of you could rewrite. Her breathing is uneven, like a lullaby hummed by a ghost who's forgotten the tune but remembers the feeling. You follow that sound, not because you must, but because hope, when carried, creates gravity. The room she lies in is too large for the smallness of her body. Her coat is pulled around her like a cocoon. Her hair sticks to her forehead in damp strands that catch the emergency lights and turn them into something gentle. Her cheeks are pale, but there is color in her still, somewhere, and you feel it. That tremor of hope, flickering beneath skin, flickering between her and you. You kneel beside her, the vial still in your hand. For a moment, you simply look, not at the sickness, not at the fear, but at the space between you, the invisible line that says someone stayed, that someone tried, that you are not alone in this breathless place, even if no words are spoken. Her eyes flutter open, barely, just long enough to meet yours, long enough for the world to narrow down to a single shared moment. No monsters, no alarms, just you and her, and the thought that maybe, just maybe, this will be enough. You inject the cure, slowly, carefully, like feeding light back into a candle that nearly gave up. She winces, not from pain, but from awakening. Her hand reaches for yours and doesn't quite make it. You take it anyway. The room doesn't change. The shadows don't recede. The walls don't brighten. But something shifts in your chest. A space where despair had made a home becomes unfamiliar again, as if hope has returned, not loud, but steady. Minutes pass, or hours. You stay by her side through each one. The air grows quieter, as if exhaling alongside her. When her breathing deepens, steadies, you allow yourself to lean back, just slightly. Not to rest, not yet, but to acknowledge that you've done what could be done. Eventually, she speaks. A whisper, broken, but alive. Her voice is a reminder that the world is not entirely lost, that even here, beneath a city that drowned in its own ambition, the living still have voices. She asks if it's over. You don't answer, not with words. You squeeze her hand and let her think what she needs to think. There's no one left to tell you what happens next. Not really. No rescue team. No resolution. But her presence beside you holds the weight of something real. And in that fragile space, breath shared, fingers curled, you remember what it felt like to be believed in, if only for a moment. The memory of someone who aimed a gun and then didn't. Someone who stood at the edge, then stepped back. Someone whose goodbye still clings to your coat like perfume and unfinished thoughts. Later, when she can stand, you help her up. The hallway feels different now, still ruined, still flickering, but with a shape beside you that wasn't there before. 2 footsteps instead of 1, 2 shadows moving forward, neither of them sure, but both real. You pass through places that once terrified you. Now, with her beside you, they feel smaller. Not safe, never that, but bearable. She leans against you, light but warm. Her shoulder against yours is the first living thing you've touched in what feels like lifetimes. You take her through the tunnels. The lights begin to dim as the generators finally lose patience. The darkness presses close, but doesn't enter. Not yet. There's still movement in you both, and the dark respects that. You pause by a wall smeared with old warnings. Her eyes flick across the messages, half-finished scrawls, desperate handwriting that tried to outrun silence. She doesn't ask what they say. Some things don't need reading to be understood. At one point, you hear something behind you. Something distant, heavy. Not pursuit, not anymore. Just a leftover noise, a memory with teeth. You don't turn around. You don't have to. You reach the emergency exit shaft. A slow elevator waits, doors ajar like an old friend who never learned how to say goodbye properly. You help her inside. She leans against the wall, her breath still shaky but steady. You follow. The ascent is quiet. Metal rattles, lights flicker overhead like stars that have forgotten their names. She says something, a word, a name. Maybe yours. Maybe not. You don't answer aloud. You just look at her, and it's enough. When the doors open, it's not to daylight. Not yet. Just another layer of silence. But it's different up here. Less pressure, more air. The kind you can taste, even if it's dusted with ash. You step out together, and for the first time, it feels like walking forward doesn't mean abandoning what came before. It means carrying it. All of it. Carefully. Like a cure in a trembling hand. Like a name remembered through noise. Like hope. And as you walk into the half-light of an unfinished world, her hand brushes yours again. Not to hold. Not to cling. Just to let you know that she is still there. And you, for the first time in what feels like days, let yourself believe you are too. The breeze comes, faint and sour, curling through the open vent above. It carries dust and breath, and the memory of a door closing softly behind you. The corridor fades behind you like a closing breath. Not sudden, but soft, like something too tired to linger any longer. You don't look back. Not because there is nothing worth seeing, but because some part of you knows that seeing would make it harder to leave. There's a quiet rhythm to your footsteps now, not quite steady, but full of something that might be called resolve if it weren't weighed down by everything you've come through. The girl walks beside you, slower now, but awake. Awake enough to match your pace. Awake enough to feel the absence already forming ahead of you. The tunnel slopes in gentle decline. The lights are dimming more frequently now, as if the station itself is preparing to exhale its last sigh. Each flicker feels like a heartbeat skipping. Each hum of the dying circuit sounds more distant than the one before. You move through it anyway, a pair of breaths in a place that was never meant for the living. The air is growing warmer in that wrong, mechanical way. Heat spilling from ruptured vents and overworked systems, not from sun or sky. It clings to your neck like sweat that's already given up. She asks something. Quiet. Her voice is a grain of sound beneath the groan of distant machinery. You nod. Maybe she asked where you're going. Maybe she asked what's next. It doesn't matter. The answer is the same. Forward, even when you don't know what that means. There's a door ahead. Of course there is. There always is. This one is broad, rounded, sealed at the edges with heat-damaged metal. A warning strip peels at its center like a scab half removed. You reach for the panel, and it sighs before you even touch it. Like it recognizes you. Like it's tired too. It slides open, reluctantly, revealing the final stretch. The platform is long and empty. The tracks beyond it glow faintly, as if the very rails have absorbed the fear of everything they've carried. Something waits at the far end. A transport, maybe. or a promise. Its shape is blurred by steam rising from vents in the floor, curling and drifting in patterns too lazy to form ghosts, but too stubborn to vanish. You begin walking again. One step, then another. She follows close. Her smaller footfalls syncopate with yours like a lullaby played with trembling fingers. You're almost there when the sound returns. Not behind you, but from deep within. Not a roar, not a scream, just presence. The kind that thickens the air and makes your lungs forget how to draw it. She stops beside you. She feels it too. The stillness between you becomes sacred, a mutual pause made of memory and mourning. And then, movement. Not yours, not hers. From within the steel, from within the concrete. A shape begins to form. You turn. Slowly. He is still not truly human anymore, but he is not quite gone either. What's left of William staggers forward like a man stitched together by remorse and rage, and some brittle remnant of purpose. His limbs are wrong, his body a silhouette twisted by attempts to fight the inevitable. But his eyes, the part of him that still has eyes, find her. Not you, never you, always her. She steps back, you move forward, neither of you speaks. There's no need. What must happen is already written into the trembling of your fingers. He does not attack, not immediately. He hesitates, if something like that can hesitate, and the room holds its breath. You see it then, in the slowness of his advance, in the way one claw drags rather than swings, in the way his shape, monstrous as it is, seems pulled forward by something other than hunger. A need, maybe, or guilt. He is going to fall apart, but not before seeing her, not before letting whatever fragment of memory still pulses inside him take this last, final shape. You don't fight. You don't run. You let him come closer. There's a rhythm to it now, his footfalls uneven, wet, reverberating off steel and sorrow. But it's not menace. Not anymore. It's a farewell, worn and warped and terrible. He lunges and you sidestep, not out of fear, out of respect, letting him pass, letting him finish. The wall takes him, eventually, or gravity, or time. He slams into it with a sound like a cathedral collapsing, not just noise, but history cracking. The ceiling shudders, dust raining like ash. But still, he tries to rise again, and then he stops, because she's looking at him now, not with fear, but with something slower, something older. She doesn't speak, she doesn't cry, but her small hand brushes against yours, and the message is clear. Let him have this. Let him end it here, where he tried. You pull her gently behind you and guide her toward the transport. The door opens with a hiss, parting like a curtain. The interior glows faintly with dying lights and the cold whisper of recycled air. She climbs in. You follow. As the machine begins to move, the tunnel pulls away, slowly, reluctantly. William's shape fades into the steam behind you, not shrinking, not dissolving, but being remembered less. You sit beside her. You don't speak. The only sound is the hum of slow propulsion and the irregular clatter of something loose in the vent above. She leans her head against your shoulder, not to sleep, not quite, just to anchor herself to something not lost. Outside the small window, the tunnel keeps going. More concrete, more echoes, more doors you'll never need to open again. She murmurs something. You barely catch it. A thank you, maybe, or a name, or the last line of a dream. It doesn't matter. The words are just placeholders now. What matters is that she's still here, and he isn't. And somehow, impossibly, that feels like mercy. The transport slows. A faint glow appears at the end of the tunnel. Not bright, not warm, but different. You've forgotten what difference feels like. She stirs as it draws closer. She's awake now, fully. You reach the platform. You step out together. Not back into the world, but into something that remembers what the world once was. The air is different. Not clean, but not poisoned. Not anymore. She breathes deeply. Her eyes scan the space, not with wonder, but with a quiet, practiced hope. The kind that hurts a little, just from existing. You don't say goodbye to the tunnel. You already did. Back when he stopped moving. Back when she looked at him without flinching. Back when you let go of the part of you that thought survival meant always holding on. You walk forward. Her footsteps are lighter now. Yours are slower. The sky, or something pretending to be sky, opens above you in streaks of copper and smoke. It smells like endings, and beginning again. And somewhere far behind you, there is the sound of something settling into stillness. A silence that is earned, and the faintest breath of dust, curling through the air like a soul that finally stopped running. It begins not with motion, but with stillness. The kind of stillness that lingers only after everything else has burned itself out. Panic, fear, urgency, even hope. They've all passed through you like waves crashing against the same exhausted shore. And now you sit among the remnants of momentum, inside a train car that hums but does not hurry, breathing air that still remembers fire. The rails beneath you are quiet. The world outside a blur that doesn't care if you watch it or not. And beside you, she sleeps. The smallest anchor in a story that drifted too far. Her breath is slow, steady, innocent in a way the city never was. She curls gently into the fabric of her coat, chin tucked, lashes still damp from the last of her tears. She doesn't twitch. She doesn't whimper. She simply rests, as if some part of her knows it's finally allowed. And you do not sleep. Not yet. You sit across from her, elbows resting on your knees, eyes unfocused, watching a window painted in soot and light. The world beyond is unreadable. A smear of darkness and motion, treetops bowing like ghosts in retreat. There is no destination in your mind. Only distance. Only the soft ache of forward. The train clatters sometimes. A familiar rhythm, soothing in its predictability, like the ticking of a clock in a room long forgotten. You feel every vibration through the metal bench, through your spine, through the thin soles of your shoes. It is a lullaby written in machinery and momentum, but you do not sleep. Your hands are still stained, not just with grime, but memory. A hallway lit by flickering red. A scream too quiet to save. The click of a door that will never open again. You don't remember what you last said, or if you even said goodbye. You remember her hand, though, small, shaking, slipping into yours. Not a cry for help, but a decision. The weight of it still wraps around your fingers, as if she's still holding on, even now, even here. The train passes something loud, maybe a tunnel, maybe just an echo of something breaking far above. And the girl stirs. You glance at her, but she doesn't wake. Her brow flinches slightly, as though fending off a dream she's too tired to finish. You wish you could give her something, a blanket, a softer seat, a morning that smells like safety. But there is only the train and the hum and your body, bruised in places you've stopped naming. There is a flicker in the lights above. The bulbs overhead buzz like they're trying to remember how to shine. A few blink and surrender, leaving pale shadows on the walls. The air smells like copper and rubber and old electricity. Not foul, not fresh, just present. Like the breath of something that never needed lungs. You glance down the length of the car. Empty, except for you and her. Rows of silence. Rusted handrails. Seats that have seen too much. Somewhere near the back there's a flickering panel. Green light dancing across cracked plastic. You don't know what it controls. Maybe nothing anymore. But its persistence feels almost noble. Your shoulder itches. Underneath the bandages, the wounds are raw and tired. Every pulse feels slow, like your blood is reluctant to flow forward. But it does. You do. And the train does. That's enough. You lean your head against the wall. Cold, firm, grounding. You let your eyes drift up to the ceiling, watching the seams where metal plates meet, where wires vanish into unseen conduits. Somewhere above, the city is still there, burning, broken, silent. The thought of it feels like remembering a nightmare before it finishes. You know the story is not over, not really. But this chapter is closing itself with the sound of steel on steel, carrying you away from what cannot be fixed. A sigh escapes your lips. Not relief exactly, just the body's agreement with rest. Your eyes begin to close, not sleep, just a narrowing of the moment. And in that blur of breath and motion, something catches in your memory. A voice, not hers. Another one, deeper. Familiar in a way that makes your stomach clench. Not because of what he became, but because of what he used to be. Because of what he loved. You open your eyes again. The girl shifts slightly. Her foot brushes yours. She's warm, she's real, she's safe. For now. You wonder what dreams she's having. Whether they're soft or shattered. Whether she remembers the lab, the fire, the roar of something losing everything all at once. Or whether she's already forgotten it. The way a child forgets a nightmare once the light returns. You hope it's the latter. She deserves that. Deserves a forgetting. Deserves a morning that begins clean. You feel the train curve. A gentle tilt. Metal groaning like an old man rolling over in his sleep. Your balance shifts. Your hand steadies against the seat. Somewhere far ahead, the world might be waiting. But you're in no rush. You have nothing left to prove, nothing left to unlock, nothing left to fire. Only this seat, this girl, this motion. Outside, something explodes, not near but not far enough. The glass trembles faintly, like the world still wants to pull you back. But the rails hold fast. You don't look outside. You already know what you'd see. Smoke, craters, the absence of buildings that once had names. Instead, you look at her again. There's a smudge on her cheek. You resist the urge to wipe it. Let her sleep. You shift your gaze back to the window. The trees are fewer now, more open space, maybe even hills. It's hard to tell through the dirt and darkness, but something feels wider, less claustrophobic, not hopeful, but not hopeless. You lean back a little further. Your body creaks. Your mind loosens. The rhythm of the train becomes your breath, your heartbeat, your thought. For a moment, you forget what it sounded like. The screams, the growls, the alarms, the silence after. All of it fades. What remains is the hum. The breath of metal and electricity, steady and indifferent. And somewhere down in your bones, something releases. Something you didn't know you were holding. You close your eyes. You do not dream. You do not need to. You are still moving. And the train does not turn back. Not for anything. Not for anyone. The hum of the train fades before the wheels ever stop. Not suddenly, but gradually, as if the world outside were gently reaching in, prying you from the rhythm of steel and momentum, and reminding you that forward, like all things, must eventually come to stillness. You do not open your eyes right away. The silence is not complete, not quite. There's a faint hiss of brakes, a soft clunk somewhere beneath your feet, the sound of metal sighing after too long under strain. And then, just above it all, the distant song of birds. Real birds. Not a recording, not a hallucination, not some cruel trick of memory, but feathers and breath and tiny hearts that have found enough morning to sing about. You let that sound settle into your chest like something sacred. And only then do your eyes part. The girl is already sitting up. Her hair is a little matted on one side, her cheek pink from leaning too long against vinyl. She blinks at you with that quiet sort of alertness children have, a mix of curiosity and caution. Her lips do not move yet, but her eyes ask what your own body already feels. Is it over? You nod. You do not know what over means. Not really. But the train is no longer moving, and the air smells different. Not sterile, not smoky, but open, green, alive, like rain that never fell but left its scent behind anyway. You stand slowly, your muscles stiff, your balance adjusting to stillness like a sailor relearning land. She follows. Her fingers slip gently into yours again, not from fear but from habit, and maybe from trust. Her grip is warm, small, steady. The door at the end of the car groans open with a mechanical reluctance, and beyond it, a tunnel, not long, not dark, just a passage that leads toward light. You step out together. The concrete platform is uneven, cracked in places where roots have dared to lift it. Pale weeds sprout between the slabs. Somewhere in the distance, a power line hums, not broken, but tired. The sky overhead is not bright, not yet, but it's no longer gray. The clouds are thin now, pulled apart like old wool. The light behind them is soft, uncertain. A suggestion of sun, not yet risen, but finally remembered. You walk. Your boots crunch softly on gravel. The girl's footsteps pad beside you, light and quick. She looks around often, wide-eyed, not searching for danger, but marveling at the unfamiliar, as if fresh air and trees are relics from a forgotten fairy tale. You don't rush her. You let her see, let her notice the details. A patch of moss on a broken pillar, a squirrel darting up a rusted fence, a puddle that reflects a world she no longer fears, the surface rippling with the color of dawn, edged faintly with the same dull red that once coated the street where it all began. And finally, the mouth of the tunnel opens fully, and you step into morning. It is not loud, not brilliant. The world does not greet you with applause. It sighs, long and low and warm, like a breath held too long. The wind moves through the trees with the gentleness of something that remembers how fragile things can be. The branches sway overhead, filtering light in sleepy patterns. And somewhere to the east, beyond a line of distant hills, the sun peaks. Just barely. Just enough. The path before you is simple, a cracked road, half swallowed by time and roots, winding toward a horizon no longer on fire. The city is behind you, and ahead. Nothing yet. But that nothing is a gift. You pause there, at the edge of the forest. You turn to look behind, not far, not long, just enough to see the shadow you've stepped out of. The train is still there, inert now, like a dream you forgot to finish. The tunnel darkens behind it, swallowing the rails like a mouth that never intended to open again. You do not go back. You face forward. The girl tugs your hand. You walk. The air carries scents that don't belong to decay. Damp earth, distant pine, the faint sweetness of something blooming. Your lungs drink it in slowly, like they're relearning how to breathe without urgency. Every step is strange, like your body forgot what it meant to move toward nothing in particular. And that's okay. There is no destination here. Just forward. She asks a question. You don't quite hear it. Or maybe you do, and the words just dissolve in your mind before they settle. You answer with a smile. It's enough. She nods, satisfied. A power line crackles overhead. Not dangerously, just there. A thin reminder that the world, in pieces, still runs. Somewhere, maybe, someone else is waking up to the same morning. Somewhere coffee is brewed and water is boiled and bread is broken without fear. You do not know if you'll ever reach those somewheres, but you walk anyway. The birds keep singing. They don't know what happened. Or maybe they do, and they sing anyway. A branch snaps underfoot. You flinch slightly, out of habit, but nothing follows. No growl, no shudder, just the sound of silence returning. And in that silence, you find something. Not peace, not yet, but space. Space enough to feel the weight you carried, to recognize it, to lay it down. Not all at once, but slowly, a piece at a time. The girl finds a wildflower. She picks it without asking, tucks it behind her ear. It doesn't match. It doesn't need to. You reach a bend in the road. The trees part slightly, and for the first time you see it. The full morning, pale, quiet, gentle as a whispered promise. It stretches out before you, endless and ordinary. You stop, not from fatigue, just to let it settle, just to feel what it means, to have reached a place where nothing is chasing you, to have lived, to remember what sunlight feels like before it warms the skin, and to stand still, for no other reason than because you can. A breeze lifts the edge of your coat. The trees murmur to each other in rustling tones. And behind you, the shadow of the city fades with the fog. You close your eyes. You listen. You stay. Just a little longer. Letting morning become real. Letting it touch you. Letting it linger.